4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the place show yet not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Friday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming on YouTube, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. 855-212-4CBS is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Got Stuart Kovacs, Moist Mike, rocking and rolling with me all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Joe Theismann going to stop by an hour 20 from now, and then we will get you set a week out, a little over a week out from the Super Bowl, and we will welcome in a betting analyst for Sports Grid. Taylor Mathis is going to stop by. She'll give us all the prop bets, spread bets, over-unders, anytime touchdowns, all that jazz with Taylor coming up at 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific. But I got to start out with Jim Harbaugh, and we'll also open up the show with some audio here. This is Jim Harbaugh, who was introduced yesterday as the new head football coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, and here are his expectations for the franchise.
Los Angeles, Southern California, they respect talent, effort, and winning. And it needs to be multiple championships. And we're going to be humble and hungry, but that's our goal.
I don't expect Jim Harbaugh to win multiple championships in Los Angeles, but what else is he going to say? Like every coach, when they take over an organization, especially a coach that is as accomplished as he is, where he's won a national championship in college at Michigan this past year, and then when you take a look at what he did in the NFL, spanning over 4 seasons, he was in a Super Bowl, lost that Super Bowl, and he was also in 3 NFC championship games. So it is abundantly clear he is leaving Michigan for 2 reasons. One, he doesn't want to put up with the nonsense and the petty behavior of the NCAA. The other is, just from a human standpoint, you have to live the rest of your life, as much as you love your brother, knowing that your brother beat you in a Super Bowl. And even if you win a Super Bowl in the NFL, it may not come... Well, it can't come up against his brother because his brother's the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. And, it's an AFC thing, Chargers and Ravens. But I do feel as if that burden and that looking in the past of, okay, I lost a Super Bowl to my brother, does fade away a bit if you do get your hands on a Lombardi trophy, regardless of who the opponent is. So Jim is going back for those 2 reasons. I'm not going to sit here, even as a huge Jim Harbaugh fan, and say that I expect them to win multiple championships. But I don't think it's ridiculous to say that Jim Harbaugh should win a championship in the NFL when he's coaching Justin Herbert. Because you look around the league, it is tough to find an elite quarterback. And Justin Herbert has a ways to go in becoming an elite quarterback. But when you look at Justin Herbert, the roadblocks of the last few years, it's impossible not to acknowledge when Brandon Staley was your head coach. And let's just be perfectly clear about Brandon Staley. He should have never been hired by the Chargers. And even if you were on board with the hiring, after year 2, he should have never been afforded the opportunity to get a year 3. And everyone in that locker room, whether they liked him or not as a person, when you get down to their core and get down to the truth of the way that they think, they knew that Brandon Staley wasn't that dude. And there's only so much you could take when you know that your coach isn't qualified and you know your coach isn't the best coach to lead this team before eventually the tires just totally collapse and the car just totally collapse and then you are just completely broken down. And it took 3 years or 2 years and change in Los Angeles for that to occur. Because in year 1, Brandon Staley made a dumb decision. Stu knows it better than anybody, and his Raiders benefited from it. And there were questions about him then. But then in year 2, it was just make the playoffs. And they made the playoffs, but sometimes expectations change depending on how you do it. And in that postseason game, when you're up 27 points, you need to slam the door shut. And they weren't able to slam the door shut. And after that game, there was no justification in bringing back Brandon Staley, but the Chargers did it. And the Chargers bringing back Brandon Staley caused them this year, in the little bit of adversity that they faced early on, for everyone to jump out of the car and realize that this car was heading to a big-time accident with Brandon Staley leading the charge. So I do believe, like you look at that Chargers team, last year they were a 5-win team. Just bringing in Jim Harbaugh, you have to think automatically makes them better by at least 3 wins. Because it's going to be a totally different culture in that organization. You're going to have players that are going to go into work now, and there's actually going to be trust, and there's going to be continuity in that organization. And people are actually going to know when they go into work that they have a smart football man that knows how to win. Not only did he win in college, but he also had a good amount of success in 4 years in the NFL. And just having that bright football mind in the building and someone that is qualified and someone that is deserving of being the head coach will make the Chargers exponentially better in just 1 year. And I get it. You could tell me until we're blue in the face about the salary cap issues and the injury problems in Los Angeles, blah, 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 blah. Everywhere Jim Harbaugh goes, he wins. The dude is a winner. And he is going to win in Los Angeles. He is going to make that franchise a whole lot better. And ultimately, we will see if he could win a Super Bowl. But I'm not going to doubt this guy. And he has the quarterback. And I know now there's a conversation about Justin Herbert, underwhelming, overrated, overhyped. That's fine to say all those things. But I'm not going to be the dummy that doesn't realize the natural talent and the natural ability of Justin Herbert and know that right now Justin Herbert is definitely a top 10 quarterback in football. And now with the pairing of Jim Harbaugh, he needs to go from being just a top 10 quarterback to then when we talk about him being a top 5 quarterback. But why would I doubt that Herbert can't do that with Jim Harbaugh? Because everywhere Harbaugh has gone, he has won, and he's also had success in some capacity in developing the quarterback. So those conversations and those criteria and those past events, it all teams up for Harbaugh and Herbert to be extremely successful. And in year one, you say, well, Zach, what are the expectations? I think in year one, it's a fair expectation to have the Chargers be in the playoffs, even though they only had 5 wins from a year ago. But the way that I look at this, year one, make the playoffs. Year two, you should be in a conference championship game. And then year 3, at Super Bowl or bust time. Maybe that process could be expedited by a playoff win this upcoming year. And then maybe after this year, you look at the team and you say, okay, it's Super Bowl or bust in year 2. But Harbaugh's not going to hide from the expectations. Harbaugh's not going to hide from the hype. And also, Harbaugh's not going to be an idiot. And you saw Brandon Staley, unfortunately, live and die by analytics and not trust his gut at all. And Harbaugh's not afraid to go for it. We saw what he did in the Rose Bowl. He went for it on 4th and 1, 4th and 2, back in his own end. There are moments to go for it. But it seems like a lot of times, especially earlier in the year this season, up against the Raiders and the Vikings, where in back-to-back weeks, Brandon Staley goes for it inside his 30, 35-yard line, and we're like, what are you doing? Are you ever going to learn? Are you ever going to adapt? Are you ever going to change? And what Brandon Staley was for the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, is the complete antithesis. And the complete antithesis in a massively better way. So yeah, Chargers fans should be excited. Chargers fans should dream big. Chargers fans should believe that one day Jim Harbaugh will deliver them a championship. But as far as for next year, they need to make the playoffs. And you look at the schedule, remember, they're in a last place schedule. So the one good thing about Brandon Staley is that they got them a last place schedule for this year. And just looking at like the bare minimums, you should be able to go 3-3 in this division. We don't know what the Raiders are going to look like. You should be able to get one off the Raiders. I know the Chiefs are a great team. You should be able to get one off the Chiefs, and you should be able to get one off the Broncos. And maybe you lose both to Kansas City. And then you take 2 from Denver, and you take 1 from the Raiders. But one way or another, you should be bare minimum heading into next year 3-3 in that division. You do play the AFC North. Tough. But with Jim Harbaugh at the helm, it's not like they can't beat the Ravens, the Bengals, the Browns, or the Steelers. I'm not saying they're going to beat all 4, but you should be able to take 2 out of 2 from the best division in football in the AFC North. And then after that, you play the Saints. You play the Falcons. You play the Bucks. You play the Panthers. You play Tennessee. You play the Cardinals. You play the Patriots. You know, that's a grouping of 6 games or 7 games where there's no world beaters on your schedule. Like, who's the best team out of that group? Atlanta or Tampa Bay? So I do believe in year 1, Harbaugh is going to lead them back to the playoffs. And I also do believe at the end of next season, we're going to be talking about Justin Herbert as we were a few years ago, where he's going to be just on the cusp of becoming one of those elite quarterbacks, one of those great quarterbacks in the NFL. This is a perfect marriage. This is a marriage that needed to happen. And I do give credit to the Spanos family because a lot of people didn't think this was going to happen because they are perceived to be cheap. And right now, they don't really have a strong fan base in LA. And the players will tell you that, and they'll be the first people to tell you that the fan base is not really present in LA. So now you make a big-time hire, and finally it feels like the Chargers have the potential to be a big-time team. And this hire of Jim Harbaugh is going to change the entire organization. And also, directly just in the AFC West, it gives us hope. You know, I get it. In the AFC right now, the only quarterback that you could trust to beat Patrick Mahomes in a big game is Joe Burrow. But look at when Brady was dominating in the AFC East. None of those organizations were ever able to get their act together. Buffalo wasn't. The Jets weren't. The Dolphins weren't when Brady was running the AFC East. Now Mahomes is running the AFC West. And we just want one of those teams to be a legitimate threat to maybe slow them down or dethrone them here and there. And you look at the Raiders, yeah, I like what they did with Antonio Pierce. You know, I like that Max Crosby and Devontae Adams are going to be on the team next year, but we don't know who their quarterback's going to be. You look at the Broncos, Sean Payton is rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. You know, their roster's not that great in Denver, and they don't know who their quarterback's going to be. And that's the thing, when you look at the elite duo and one of the all-time great duos of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, you're going to not only need to be able to outcoach them, but your quarterback's also going to need to be able to outplay Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback. And I'm not saying you could expect the Chargers to do it year in and year out, but out of the other teams in the AFC West, yeah, you bet your ass Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert had the best opportunity to do so. Because the Raiders, there's uncertainty. Denver, there's uncertainty. You still got to figure out the rest of the roster, but I at least know I could trust the quarterback for the Chargers and I could trust the head coach of Los Angeles Chargers. And I don't ask for much, but all I'm asking for is that someone in the AFC West can be a legitimate pain in the rear end of the Kansas City Chiefs, and I don't see why Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert can't do it in certain spots. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. What are your expectations for Jim Harbaugh in year 1 with the Chargers? I think it's 2 things. 1, make the postseason. And at the end of the year, talk about Justin Herbert, how we used to talk about him before this past season as an elite quarterback or on the cusp of becoming an elite quarterback in the NFL. When we come on back, the Baltimore Ravens want to give Lamar Jackson more input. We will discuss that conversation when we return, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Off and running. Very busy Friday edition of the Zach Gelb Show. Joe Theismann will join us at 4:20 p.m. Eastern. 1:20 p.m. Pacific today. Taylor Mathis, betting analyst for Sports Grid TV, will stop by as well, 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio.
Sean Payton may be the biggest buffoon in the NFL right now because Sean Payton this offseason, he went after Nathaniel Hackett, and he said Nathaniel Hackett did one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the league. When you say that, it's a must-win when you go up against Nathaniel Hackett's offense. The Jets won the game up against the Denver Broncos, and that is as bad of a look as humanly possible for Sean Payton.
This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
You could stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone all season long. You can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. Remember, on this show, we are pro Taylor Swift. We do have a Swiftie in Stuart Kovacs, who is an enormous fan of Taylor Swift. We do also acknowledge, though, other couples that their significant other plays in the NFL. Christian McCaffrey, he's got a lot going on for him. Tremendous NFL running back. Signed nearly a $70 million contract a few years ago. Is one of the more explosive players in the NFL. And then off the field, Olivia Culpo is his girlfriend. I don't know if they're engaged. I don't think they're married. I think they're just dating. No, it's they're engaged, actually. It's his fiance is Olivia Culpo. So good for Christian McCaffrey. You know, that's got to be like an all-time great son. You know, his dad played in the NFL, won a Super Bowl. And we know that Christian McCaffrey is one of the more feared players in the NFL. And he is engaged to Olivia Culpo. I don't know if there's many better lives being lived right now on this planet than Christian McCaffrey. However, I was reading from our friend at ML Football, and this was via the New York Post, that Christian McCaffrey and his fiance, Olivia Culpo, cannot afford a Super Bowl suite per Christian's mother, Lisa. We looked into a suite, and none of us can afford it. Not even Christian Moneybags over there, nor Moneybags Olivia. So when I first read that, I'm like, all right, you got to hear the context of it, and sometimes that doesn't relate when it's not an audio and it's done in an article. So I'm sure that was like kind of joking and like getting under the skin of your son. Now, there's been an update to it since I guess this did go viral yesterday and into this morning. Christian McCaffrey's fiance, Olivia Culpo, has brought a suite for Christian McCaffrey's mom, Lisa McCaffrey's birthday. It is reported to have cost. I'm not going to give you the cost. But, Stu, take a guess. How much do you think a suite at the Super Bowl does cost, if you had to just take a guess?
Oh, wow. I'd say like maybe $750,000.
$750,000 is Stuart Kovacs' guess. Santer, what's your guess on how much a suite costs in Las Vegas at the Super Bowl for Christian McCaffrey's family? And there's no discount, I don't think, from the league.
I'm going to go Price is Right rules, $751,000.
Well, come on down. $2 million. $2 million for a suite. Now, like, don't get me wrong. You're famous, right? Your son's famous. His fiance is famous. They could afford the suite. You know, I'm not saying $2 million is like a little drop in the bucket of money. Like, that's still a significant dent. But when you signed a contract worth up to $64 million, and I don't even know what Olivia Culpo makes a year, but she's got to be a millionaire, I would think, as well. Like, her net worth has to be, I have to imagine, bare minimum, a few million, if not north of that. And watch, it'll be like $100 million is her net worth or something like that. But you got to think that she's wealthy as well. Yeah, you buy a suite for a Super Bowl. That's what you do when you're that family. And also, with how expensive the tickets are anyway, like a buddy of mine sent me face value tickets for the Super Bowl. this year. Hold on, let me find this. The cheapest was $960 a ticket. That's the cheapest. Worst seat in the house.
That's not terrible.
No, $960 is not bad.
That's not terrible for a Super Bowl.
But let me say,
with these two teams,
that's the cheapest for face value. This is for face.
For face, different story.
This is for face. It's $960. Then it's the next tier is $1,950, $2,000, and it goes all the way up to $9,500 for face value tickets. Now, like online, I think like the cheapest ticket you could get right now is like $6,000 or something like that. I don't know what the heck just played off my computer.
Stu and I both looked up in a very quick instant.
But you know what it is? It's actually a sad note. It's a video of Carl Weathers who passed away. That's what it was. Not to make you guys sound like a bunch of jerks, but rest in peace to Carl Weathers, obviously, who passed away today at the age of 76. And it was a video of him playing Apollo Creed and running with Rocky Balboa on the beach. And that's what's played. That was what was playing. So a weird way to introduce that. But anyway, getting back to our conversation about the Super Bowl prices, like $2 million for a suite. Like to us, that's a lot of money. I'm not saying to them it's nothing. But when you're Christian McCaffrey and Olivia Culpo, don't you have to do that? Like, you have to. Especially with how many friends and families. Like, I would imagine in a suite, you could probably get like 12 tickets, I would think.
No, a suite? No, you got there's like 20, 25, something. It's
20, 25 for the suite. You think so?
Oh, trust me. I've been in suites before. Definitely more than 10, 12.
Big shot, Mike.
Yeah, I don't mess around, dude. Mm-hmm. I don't mess around.
So I bought 2 tickets at face value for the Super Bowl. I bought the cheapest you could get. I got 2 for $960. I'm going to be going to the game. So I'm fired up to do that. But, yeah, it's just wild that was the story today. And then I guess they were getting crapped on because it's like McCaffrey and Olivia Culpo. Like, you guys can afford it. Like, go get your parents to the game. And then I think public pressure got
Now,
to
for
them.
the record, from what I'm looking at on a variety of different sites, that, it's not 100%, but apparently her net worth hovers closer to that $10 million range.
Okay.
Which, if that's the case, $2 million, even if you're splitting it with your fiance.
So Christian McCaffrey is the breadwinner here, is what you're saying.
Yes.
It was a $64 million contract.
Yeah. But still, $64 million contract, a lot of money. $2 million is a nice chunk of that.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's cheap, but like this is not $2 million to Steve Cohen. All right, this is good money. Like they're having to pay, but they could afford it. And then also here's the other thing too. I don't know how many tickets they would have needed, but if you need at least like 10 tickets to the Super Bowl, and I don't know how many you could get through the team for face value. And is he responsible for getting those tickets for those other family members and friends and families and stuff like that? Like, at that rate, you may as well just get a suite for $2 million, too. Do you think, by the way, here's a question that I just have. Do you think the NFL gives Taylor Swift a suite for the Super Bowl?
I would say for anybody else, no. For Taylor
I think she
Swift,
gets one.
I think she gets one.
I think she gets one. Like, remember last year how Donna Kelsey was sitting in the commissioner's box? Maybe they invite her and her entourage or the people she wants to watch the game with into Goodell's suite, or they may just give her own luxury box as well. Because how much money? Did I read somewhere it was like $330 something million she's made the NFL this year? I think I read something along those lines. When someone's making that amount of money for the NFL, like very little the NFL has to suck up to, and the NFL has to genuflect to because they are the king. But with how positive the Taylor Swift thing has been, yeah, I would probably imagine she's like one of the exemptions. She's on that elite list of people that do not have to pay to get into the Super Bowl, and she gets like a free luxury box as well, or at least an invite with like 6 or 7 tickets into the commissioner's luxury box. But she could be on like Patrick Mahomes' list too, because Brittany Mahomes and Taylor Swift now have become buddy-buddy. Anyway, let's get to John Harbaugh, the coach of the Ravens. He was speaking the other day, and he says they want to give Lamar Jackson more input on the offensive game plan.
You say Lamar has the keys to the offense, okay? Now you build the offense, it's like setting up a car. We got to build a car. We got to set the car up. If Lamar's a driver, he's got to be involved in the setup of the car even more. Last year, that wasn't even possible, right? This year, he's going to be involved, and we've talked about it. He's already involved in setting up that car. Now he comes in on the front end, and he's talking to the guys about how the car's set up and exactly how these things need to be run.
Here's the thing, though. Like, you want to give him more input, I'm fine. I look back at that AFC Championship game, two things still stand out to me. Lamar Jackson was rattled in that game, and his confidence took a major, major hit on the sideline. You know, inside the NFL with Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, a bunch of other guys on that show, they always get the mic'd up version. And Odell Beckham was trying to motivate Lamar Jackson in the game. When you're like the leader of the team and you are the quarterback, you should be doing the motivating. You don't need someone trying to motivate you. But I go back to maybe what got lost in that AFC Championship game because we try to dumb everything down and we try to put blame on one person. And when it's the NFL, you can't just blame one person. That's not usually fair. But Lamar, deservedly so, he took the majority of the blame for that AFC title game because their offense basically only put up one touchdown and one score. I know they got a field goal towards the end throughout the duration of that game. And when you are that high-flying offense and you are about to win your second MVP award, because remember, these awards are regular season awards, so Lamar's still going to win the league MVP. When you have that bad of a performance and you are a star quarterback in this league, yeah, you're going to be the one where all the blame gets pointed to. But the thing that I absolutely hated in that game was the approach. And I don't know if Lamar had more input in the game plan if it changes things, because it's almost as if the Ravens, even though they're the number one rushing team in the league this past year, it's almost as if ever since they brought in Todd Monken, they tried to go away from the Greg Roman line of thinking of we're going to be a run-first team. Remember Lamar in the offseason said he was going to throw for 5,000 or 6,000 passing yards? Like something ridiculous, some ridiculous number that was not obtainable. And it's like, Lamar, you never got to 4,000 yards in your career. What made you think you were going to be able to like almost double it? Like that input would be absolutely absurd. But it wasn't as if that game, even though it felt like it was a blowout, when you look at the scoreboard, it wasn't a blowout. And what the Ravens failed to do was go back to their bread and butter. And that was running the football with running backs and running the ball with Lamar Jackson. And there was a few times where they utilized the screen game and it worked. But it was almost as if they were saying, we need to go make everything back up in one play. And that was just a dumb approach by the Ravens. And an approach that made no sense because they were only down by 10 points. This was not like sometimes you just abandon the run and just throw because you're down by such a big margin. 10 points in the NFL can be made up extremely quickly. And whether they give Lamar more input or not, I know John Harbaugh just said it, I don't care. It's, are the Ravens going to go back to the identity of doing what makes them the best team? And that's running the football. And I'm not saying Lamar can't throw it. He could throw it. But when you're trying to make him just be a thrower and not have him utilize his legs in that AFC Championship game, you're not utilizing one of the more best weapons in the NFL the right way. And that's the part to me where I think the Ravens, even though they had an incredible regular season, come postseason time, they almost tried to win in a certain way. And that was throwing the football and having them win through the passing game. Well, like, if you have been a champion before and you have already won, if you want to try to prove a point, okay, even though that's, like, foolish, I can live with that. But when you've never won a championship with Lamar Jackson yet, it's almost arrogance to say we're going to win a certain way. And that's the point that annoyed me in the AFC Championship game. Because the Chiefs were begging. They were absolutely begging for the Ravens to get back in this game. The Chiefs scored 0 points in the second half. 0. And anytime the Ravens got the ball back, it was just throw. Throw into triple coverage, intercepted. You know, I know Zay Flowers got the ball punched out by L'Jarius Sneed, but it's like, why did you think that game plan was a smart one and it was going to work? So give Lamar more input. I don't think that's a bad thing. But are you going to try to win and try to put out a game plan that best suits the strengths of your team? Because in the AFC Championship game, you didn't put out a game plan with Todd Monken that suited the strengths of your offense. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We will take a timeout. We'll come on back with some questions, some answers. We do onside, offside every Monday and Friday here. But first up with the latest CBS Sports Radio update is the fantastic Marco Belletti.
Sports Flash.
All right, Zach, rumors were there. LeBron James likely helped flame them with the hourglass emoji tweet, but his agent Rich Paul adamant LeBron will not be traded before the deadline and has not asked to be. Lakers have struggled again this year, sitting at 500. They're 25-25, currently in 9th place in the West. They hit a rough patch after winning the in-season tournament, but did notch an impressive win in Boston on Thursday despite playing without both LeBron and Anthony Davis. Lots made of the Heat culture, and they're trying to get newly acquired Terry Rozier acclimated into their system as they go for back-to-back victories against the Wizards later tonight. After finally snapping a 7-game skid, they sit in the tie for 7th in the Eastern Conference.
You put on that uniform, the Miami Heat uniform, that's what the expectation is. It does not guarantee that you're going to get the win, but that's the identity. And we have to live up to that day in, day out.
That's head coach Eric Spoelstra. Meanwhile, the Red Sox hoping Theo Epstein can help them get turned around. Epstein back in Boston as a minority owner and a senior advisor to their parent company, Fenway Sports Group. Boston has finished dead last in the Division III the last 4 years, hoping the architect of 2 World Series titles in Boston and one with the Cubs can help them get turned around. And the Bucs reportedly set to hire Kentucky offense coordinator Liam Cohen to be their OC. I'm Marco Belletti.
Hey, this is Bart Winkler. I've got a new show weeknights. Join me for the Bart Winkler Show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Only on CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
It's time to ask the pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Time for Onside, Offside. Stu, you know the dealio. Hit it!
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb on CBS Sports Radio.
All righty, Mike, what do you got cooking for me today?
All right, now we've been talking a lot about the head coaches, so let's get a little bit into the coordinators going down here in the NFL. We'll start out here with a report from CBS Sports saying that UCLA head coach and obviously former Eagles head coach and Oregon head coach Chip Kelly.
Don't forget about the Niners.
That guy, too.
A lot of them forget about it.
I know. It's
Lent
very
to Kyle
forgettable.
Shanahan, so it's worked out.
He's trying to get back into the NFL as an OC. So onside, offsides, a team should hire Chip Kelly this year as their OC for 2024.
It's kind of sad as to what Chip Kelly has become. Like, he's not a bad head football coach right now. He's at UCLA. You know that it feels like the last 2-3 years they've been trying to move on from him. But he's been winning 8 or 9 games the last 3 seasons. But this guy used to be the rock star of college football with this offense at Oregon. And then he made the decision to go to Philadelphia, where he was kind of Cliff Kingsbury-esque, where his teams would start out really strong, and then they would just fold down the stretch. And eventually Jeffrey Lurie was like, this guy's a tyrant. We have to get rid of him. And he should have taken a year off. He then quickly bounces in San Francisco. They go 2 wins, and then they fire him. But then ever since, it's like once you were the great rock star, and then you get a little bit of failure, it's like then you just become a dude. And at 60 years old, I don't think I need to hire Chip Kelly. And even though he's probably better suited now as an offensive coordinator, when you've had that ego of being a head coach, can you just be an OC? Can you just blend in and be okay with not getting all of the credit and being the guy? So I think there's just better options. And I think the days of Chip Kelly being this offensive guru are just long gone. And I don't think I need to hire him to be an NFL offensive coordinator. So you say a team should hire Chip Kelly as their OC for 2024. I will go offside.
Offside.
So we're going to stick with the coordinators. Now, after missing out on the Eagles' defensive coordinator job, Ron Rivera is reportedly meeting with the Cowboys next week, staying in the NFC East, apparently. And Rivera, as we discussed, will be joining us on Radio Row on Friday Although, who knows? Maybe Jerry Jones might give him a muzzle if he hires him over there in Dallas.
I think Jerry Jones would allow him to talk as much as he wants.
Yeah.
The Cowboys encourage talking.
Do as I say, and also as I do.
Yes.
So onside, offside, the Cowboys should hire Ron Rivera as their DC.
I would be fine with that, but the only thing I wonder, and maybe McCarthy doesn't care anymore because he made it work with Dan Quinn and he's still standing. You then get off to a slow start in Dallas. What then happens with the speculation there? Like, are they just calling for Ron Rivera to then be the interim head coach and to fire Mike McCarthy? So there could be some hesitation on the behalf of Ron Rivera, on behalf of Mike McCarthy. But, like, you are late in the game now. Like, I know we've just had a lot of changes and there have been coaches hired. And I know it's only, right, we haven't even got through this season yet. But it's like, is Rivera the best option? I wouldn't say he's the best option, but I think he's a fine option. And I think it'd be good enough when you have the talent of the Dallas Cowboys and you look at Rivera. I think his days of being a head coach are over. So if he still wants to coach, I do believe he could be a good defensive coordinator because he was just in the head coaching game for all those years. So I don't think it's the greatest option, but I don't think it's the worst option. The Cowboys could do a lot worse. So therefore, I guess I'm saying, yeah, if I have to pick one way or another, I'll go on side that the Cowboys should hire Ron Rivera as their DC. I think it's also tough, too, when you are a lame duck coach to get good coordinators. And I think that's a very difficult thing to do. Like, I don't know where Chip Kelly's going to land, but it would probably be on one of these newer staffs. When you're already an established staff and you are a lame duck head coach, it's very tough to attract a good name. So I guess Rivera's not a terrible name, but it's not like I'm jumping for joy if the Cowboys end up hiring Rivera.
All right, now last coordinated question, I promise. Stu is either elated or devastated as Antonio Pierce hired Cliff Kingsbury as the Raiders' next OC. Onside, offside, Kingsbury is the right fit to get the Raiders' offense humming.
I don't think it's a bad fit. So I'll say on sides, ultimately they're going to have to get a quarterback. This is a brilliant offensive mind that as a head coach, he just couldn't lead a team throughout the entirety of the season. Now you're asking him not to be the head coach. He's still young. He still understands the innovative way of offense. Yeah, I know it was a disaster at the end in Arizona, but I don't look at his overall tenure as a disaster. So I will go on sides that Kingsbury is the right fit to get the Raiders offense humming.
Now in 2024, Tua will be entering the final year of his contract and is owed just $23 million, a relative bargain for quarterbacks. But today, from the Pro Bowl, Tua was asked if he expects to sign an extension this offseason, to which he said, quote, "I believe that will happen." Onside, offside, the Dolphins should give Tua Tagovailoa an extension this offseason.
Yeah, this is an offside for me. I would let him play out this year and just see what happens. I think Tua is an overhyped quarterback. I like Tua. I don't love Tua. And I think Tua's stats are a little bit misleading, where Belichick gives you the line of stats are for losers. In almost every big game this year outside of the Cowboys game, that Dolphins offense that has a tremendous amount of offensive weapons was extremely underwhelming. So I look at Tua as a guy, especially with the injury past, and I know he stayed healthy this year, where am I going to want to commit $45 million a year to him? I don't feel comfortable doing that. I would make Tua play for his future on the roster this year, and he's a good quarterback. I wouldn't say he's very good. I wouldn't call him great. I would not call him elite. I think he's just a good quarterback. And that's always the conversation. Good quarterbacks can get great money, but I'm not rushing to pay Tua Tagovailoa because for most of the time in Miami, he hasn't been worth it. So prove me that you're worth it this year and you could really take the next step. Like, they made the playoffs again this year. Tua stayed healthy this year. In the playoffs, that offense was terrible in Kansas City, and they blew the division down the stretch. He couldn't win the game up against the Buffalo Bills, where they had every opportunity. Those things matter. I'm not rushing to pay Tua. I think you do the smart thing here and the prudent thing here, which would be you play out this year, even if it gets a little bit uncomfortable with Tua's representation, Tua Tagovailoa, and the Miami Dolphins. So the Dolphins should give Tua an extension this offseason. I would say offside.
Offside. Now, the Bill Belichick haters are out in full force after he was essentially fired from the Pats and couldn't land a new job. The Ravens DB Marlon Humphrey piled on yesterday, tweeting, the, quote, greatest, quote, coach of all time could not get hired out of 6 head coaching jobs open. I think that debate can be put to rest, end quote. Ouch. onside, offside. Belichick not getting a job this offseason does impact his legacy as the GOAT coach.
No, offside. I think Belichick only tried to get one job. That was the Atlanta job. And people inside the organization were afraid that they were going to get fired, and that's why Belichick didn't get hired. I'm not saying Bill doesn't have to adjust and change. He does. I don't know if he will. But this idea that 2 years is ruining a man's entire legacy where he just kicked the NFL's ass for 20 years is just so ridiculous. And it's so in the moment and so takey. And it's like Marlon Humphrey. I'm not saying he can't have an opinion because I haven't won a Super Bowl and I have an opinion. But for him to go out of his way to attack Bill Belichick when he's not won a Super Bowl, and then also your team just choked in the playoffs and didn't play well in the postseason, like maybe you should focus on your own team first before you start getting into these GOAT debates about Bill Belichick. So Belichick not getting hired does impact his legacy as the GOAT. Offside.
Offside.
Now, the Sixers got some bad news as Joel Embiid will miss extended time with a torn meniscus in his knee. Now, after some rule changes this offseason to curtail load management, Embiid will likely be ineligible for postseason awards, meaning he will not repeat as MVP. So onside, offside. Now, while the spirit of the rule makes sense to avoid load management, onside, offside, players who miss time with legit injuries shouldn't be fully excluded from postseason awards.
When you say postseason awards, that's just like the MVP?
MVPs, comeback player of the year, sixth man, defensive player of the year. They now have a cap on it.
Yeah,
so
65
that guys
games.
Don't load manage.
Yeah, so like if you can't play 65 games, you probably won't have a case to be the MVP. So I understand the spirit of the rule, and it stinks what happens here. And I know some people are saying they believe Embiid played the other night because he wanted to be eligible for the MVP award. But like, you have a decision to make. If you feel like you're not healthy enough, then don't play. And if you don't win the MVP, that shouldn't be paramount for a guy that's already won the MVP. And I love Joel Embiid. But this idea now that we have to change the rule, I don't agree with that. So players who miss time with legit injury shouldn't be excluded from postseason awards. I'm going to say offsides because it's not that I'm saying, oh, if you get injured, you can't win an award. But if you can't play 65 games in an 82-game regular season, there's someone that's more deserving for you for all these other awards. So that's why I go offsides.
Offside.
Although it could be said that like he should, let the voters make that choice as opposed to the league mandating that he can't even be eligible.
But here's the thing. I never defend Adam Silver. I despise Adam Silver. I think Spineless Silver is the weakest commissioner that's out there of the four major sports. He finally makes a rule that says, you want to win these awards which players care about, then you got to play. You got to value the regular season. That's my biggest problem with the NBA. The regular season for a lot of these teams and a lot of these players, they don't care about it. And as a consumer that's like dying to watch something in February and I tune in and a player's out for load management, forget the Embiid thing because the Embiid thing sucks. Like, I'm not saying that. But for a lot of these players, they're just resting. And okay, you win a championship like Kawhi did a few years ago, the resting worked. But like, they finally make a rule that is asking the players to play, and now we're going to change it after one thing. Man, Silver really have no spine if he now reverses course of action on this. And he shouldn't. It's unfortunate, but it doesn't mean that his intentions were wrong here. His intentions were actually right. All righty, we'll come on back. We'll rank the new head coaches that have been hired in the NFL. Joe Theismann going to join us 25 minutes from now.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, rocking and rolling hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. Appreciate you tuning on this Friday edition of the show. Joe Theismann going to join us 20 minutes from now. And then coming up at 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific, we'll do an early preview to the betting side of the Super Bowl. Joining us from Sports Grid TV will be Taylor Mathis. So now we have all the head coaching jobs up for grabs that have been filled. The 8 that were available, right? You had the Seattle Seahawks, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Carolina Panthers, the Los Angeles Chargers, the New England Patriots, the Atlanta Falcons, the Tennessee Titans, and then you also did have one more that was available, Atlanta Falcons. So you had 8 jobs that were there for the taking, and now they've been all filled. The Commanders as well. But when you look now at another job that could open up, this has been speculated. I think part of the reason to blame is us. I didn't speculate, but Florio said this on the show. You got two teams that are remaining, the 49ers and the Chiefs. We all know that the 49ers aren't moving on from Kyle Shanahan. But the Chiefs don't want to move on from Andy Reid, but there has been speculation and there has been conversation about Andy Reid retiring after this game. Florio said it on this show. Mike is plugged in. Mike is phenomenal with Pro Football Talk. Peter King has refuted that. He doesn't see why it would happen. I kind of agree that I don't believe Andy Reid is coaching his final game. I would be surprised after, 20 years of this guy getting in the playoffs and coming up short and being known as the guy that he could win a bunch of games, but he can't win the game. When you have now been a two-time Super Bowl champion and you have the possibility and there's a great chance that you could be a three-time Super Bowl champion after next Sunday, why would you leave right now when you have the best quarterback in the NFL? So, out of 100%, I'll say there's a 8% chance, a less than 10% chance, and 8 may be a high number, that there's an 8% chance that Andy Reid walks away. I just don't feel like Andy Reid is coaching his final game next Sunday. Stu and Samter, before we rank these head coaches, do you think they're, out of 100, what would your guys' number be on the chances that this is Andy Reid's final game and he's going to walk off into the sunset with the burger in his hand and he's going to be waddling away from the NFL after next Sunday?
31.
31? That's a high number, I think.
Yeah. I think that Andy Reid's had health issues. There's been some situations with his family. I think he still loves the game. It still seems like he's enjoying it. He's still at the top of his game. It doesn't seem like he's slowing down, but between his age, obviously his health concerns, his family, I wouldn't be as shocked as I initially thought I would be, but I still think it's below 50%.
Yeah, I'm going 8%. So Samter goes 31. Stu, where you at?
I'm a little closer to Mike. I'm around 20%.
Now, how much is this? You need him out of the AFC West to benefit your Raiders?
I would like that, but yes,
fraud.
No, I think there's a chance only because he's older. He's been coaching in the NFL as a head coach for pretty much 2 decades. I think
90s.
It's at a certain point if he's tired, he's tired. It doesn't matter if he has Mahomes or a great team. I think that just might be if he thinks it's the end, it's the end. So
let's do this exercise.
Okay,
let's go around the room. Who is coaching the Kansas City Chiefs if Andy Reid retires after the Super Bowl? I'll play into your guys' game. I will have fun here. I know you guys aren't saying it's above 50. I'm at the lowest of lows here. I'm saying 8% chance Andy Reid walks away. I have a name in mind, and I have the name that I think would be the next head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, but I'll let you guys go first.
I think it's Vrabel. Best guy in the market. Played for them for a little bit. I would go Vrabel.
Okay. Samter?
I mean, part of me wants to say Spags has put his time in there in KC.
That would be fun.
Another part of me says, Belichick and Mahomes together would be really fun after Belichick and Brady. But I'm going to go with the name off the board. I'm going to go Eric Bieniemy is going to get his way back to KC. They love him there. Those guys adore Eric Bieniemy.
Do they, though?
And we look at that offense with and without Eric Bieniemy, they're better with him. So I'm going to say Eric Bieniemy finally gets his shot.
Do they love Bieniemy? Because, don't get me wrong. I want to see Bieniemy be a head coach. And it would be like the ultimate bleep you to so many people after getting passed up for all those jobs throughout all those years and not really be getting a great opportunity if he landed in Kansas City and then got to continue the makings of, let's say they win the Super Bowl. Then they're a dynasty because they have 3 Super Bowls. They get to continue the next chapter of the dynasty with Bieniemy. But I do feel as if it felt a little forced at times when Mahomes and Kelsey would go out of their way to say how much they liked Bieniemy, because I don't know how much you heard that while Bieniemy was there. It was like after he left, and then there was that speculation of, oh, well, how much is it that Bieniemy didn't get along with Patrick Mahomes. Remember there was that conversation, especially after it was that AFC Championship game that they lost. There was a lot of that conversation with some of the fighting that may have been happening between Mahomes and Bieniemy. And then you get to D.C. where, let's be real, the Commanders have been a bunch of losers for a bunch of years anyway. So when you have players crying, oh, Bieniemy's too tough on us. Oh, Bieniemy's not a player's coach that kisses her ass all the time. I thought that was very lame, and I thought that was very weak by the Washington Commanders players. And then Ron Rivera put his own foot in his mouth when he revealed that pretty much to the public. So I just don't know in the year of 2024 where it feels like you got to be a player's coach and you can't be a doormat. Like, Bieniemy's not a doormat, but I don't know if he has the player's coaching side in him. I don't think it would be Bieniemy. Could you imagine this, by the way? Let me preface what I'm about to say. This guy shouldn't get the job, but it would be so NFL jackassery if he did get the job. Matt Nagy's the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. Could you imagine Andy Reid retires and then Matt Nagy, former coach of the year, gets the job in Kansas City because Mahomes likes him over Eric Bieniemy? That would be absurd. But it wouldn't shock me whatsoever. Then I'm with Stu. I would love it to be Belichick. I don't think it would be Bieniemy. It would be. Do you think imagine these coaches that just got hired now. Like, imagine Jim Harbaugh. Because, like, Antonio Pierce, Mike McDonald, Dave Canales, Gerard Mayo, Dan Quinn, Brian Callahan, Raheem Morris. Like, I'm not saying any of those guys needed to be hired by Kansas City. But let's say this job opened up, like when the hiring cycle started. Could you imagine the Chiefs could have got Jim Harbaugh? Could you imagine that? Would Tomlin maybe say, oh, maybe now this is the time to leave Pittsburgh and then run over to Kansas City? So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to reevaluate their own situation. And it would be fascinating being the last team to become available if this job opens up. And abundantly clear, I do not think it is going to open up because I think Reid's going to coach next year. I don't think he's going to walk away right when they have reached that dynasty status in the NFL. And I think he'll try to go coach a few more years and get a few more Super Bowls. But if it does open up, I do kind of feel like Vrabel's the move. It's like the best of both worlds. It's a younger coach that has had some success in this league. Stu mentioned it. He was a part of that Matt Castle trade with the Patriots when he went from the Patriots to the Chiefs at the end of his tenure. Andy Reid not coaching next year in Kansas City. I would say Vrabel would be probably at the top of the list. Anyway, head coaching rankings. We'll go 8-1 here. Now, I'm going to give you a reason for each ranking. Raheem Morris is in at number 8. I have said for the last year, Raheem Morris is deserving of another opportunity to coach. It's not necessarily the hire of Raheem Morris that makes him the last hire for me. It is the process. Arthur Blank wanted Bill Belichick. Arthur Blank was talked out of not hiring Bill Belichick. And that just means to me, the hire of Raheem Morris is a flawed hire. Because as an owner of a team, why didn't you hire Bill? And I think the biggest reason they didn't hire Bill is because Rich McKay thought that he was going to be ousted from the organization. And there was others in the organization that didn't think they would have a job a year from now. I understand why those guys would put up a stink. Like, you're going to lose your job. You should put up a stink. You should put up a fight. But it doesn't mean that the original decision by Blank that he wanted to make would have been the wrong one. So I don't like the process that led to Raheem Morris being the next head coach. Brian Callahan is in at number 7. He is a young offensive mind, football family, been around the game a long time, had a lot of success with the Cincinnati Bengals. I just look at the guy that they had in Mike Vrabel. Like, Vrabel's a better coach. The thing with Vrabel, though, and I think this gets underplayed, he didn't want to be in that organization anymore. So if you sense a coach that doesn't want to be there anymore and is giving you signs of that, then you got to make a move. And, yeah, you bring in an offensive mind to maybe get the most out of Will Levis, but I still look at what they had and then where they are now. I still think they're years and years away from getting a better head coach in there or a guy that we look at that could be in the same level of a Mike Vrabel. In at number 6, I am going with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn was an underwhelming hire, but the guy is a good coach. Ben Johnson was supposed to be the hire there. They didn't get Ben Johnson. And then with some of the other names that were still out there, I thought Dan Quinn was just underwhelming. But Dan Quinn, along with Kyle Shanahan and Matt Ryan, played an MVP level and did get a team to a Super Bowl. So he does have some history. I just thought where they were going, new owner, you get Peters in there, that this was going to be a splashy hire. Dan Quinn isn't a splashy hire to me. So Raheem Morris at 8, Brian Callahan at 7, Dan Quinn at 6. In at number 5, Gerard Mayo with the Patriots. Gerard Mayo, when he was a player, was called Gerard Belichick by Tom Brady. And they always thought he was made to be a coach. He knew he was getting the New England job. It was written into his contract. They thought it was going to be a year from now, but then it all bottomed out in New England this year. The only thing that concerns me about Gerard Mayo is he trying to be like Belichick? It'll be different than Belichick. You just hear from the first press conference. But they haven't hired a GM yet in New England. And it doesn't seem like they're going to hire a GM until after the draft. So do they just go from Belichick having all the power to Gerard Mayo having all the power? And if that's the case, I don't think you're running your organization the right way, because you should be bringing in a GM. Number 4, the Dave Canales hire. I would not have thought that he would have got a job before the hiring process started, but he did a phenomenal job with Geno Smith, did a phenomenal job with Baker Mayfield. And considering the circumstance where you knew that the names that were going to be interested in Carolina, regardless of who they interviewed, were going to be limited, you have good continuity now in that organization. Because Morgan, the new GM who played for the Panthers, he knows Dave Canales because they worked together in Seattle. I did read, though, a very bizarre article that Dave Canales has authored a book with his wife, and it was about some of the infidelity that he had, and he had a sex addiction and a porn addiction as well. Addiction. I was not expecting to read that about an NFL head coach. And that must have been an awkward interview topic because it's out there in the open, and you know that they find out every piece of information about these coaches. But, I'm not concerned that years ago Dave Canales had a porn addiction. In at number 3, Mike McDonald. Young, rising defensive coordinator, did a phenomenal job in Baltimore, did a phenomenal job in Michigan. It felt like, I'm not saying he's a younger version necessarily of Pete Carroll, but the idea of what Pete Carroll was, high energy guy, respected in the league. We know Pete Carroll's a legendary coach. He's going to be a Hall of Fame coach. It seems like they just reset that team and got drastically younger to reset a Super Bowl winning culture in Seattle. I like the hire, Mike McDaniel. 2, Antonio Pierce. Sometimes you just got to do the right thing. And the Raiders just did the right thing, right? You get taught as a kid, keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. They kept it simple. And they weren't stupid, the Las Vegas Raiders. It's one of the rare times the Raiders were told to do something and they didn't do something that elicited this response of what the heck the Raiders are doing. I love the energy that Antonio Pierce has. Antonio Pierce is kind of a coach like DeMeco Ryans has been, like Dan Campbell has been, and now it was a short sample size. Now we'll get to see it over a longer stretch. And then at number 1, it's the easiest one ever. It's Jim Harbaugh. He's the best coach of the market for all things considered in the year of 2024. So Jim Harbaugh 1 with the Chargers, Antonio Pierce 2 with the Raiders, Mike McDonald 3 with the Seahawks, Dave Canales 4 with the Carolina Panthers, Gerard Mayo 5th with the Patriots, Dan Quinn 6th with the Commanders, Brian Callahan 7th with the Tennessee Titans, and then in at number 8, Raheem Morris with the Atlanta Falcons. All right, it's Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We will get Joe Theismann's reaction to the Commanders hiring Dan Quinn, and also it appears, I would say, that Caleb Williams is going to be the number 1 overall pick. The Commanders have the 2nd pick. Will it be Drake May? Will it be Jaden Daniels? I'll get Joe Theismann's thoughts on that and also an early Super Bowl preview from him when the Zach Gelb Show returns in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. You can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, and it's sponsored by our friends at AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL Live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports, or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. All righty, Zach Gelb Show on a Friday on CBS Sports Radio. We are efforting Joe Theismann. Should have him on in a bit as we'll connect with the former quarterback in Washington. And we know all the success that Joe had in his NFL career. Love to get his thoughts on Dan Quinn and the hire in Landover, Maryland by the Commanders. A lot of people thought it was an underwhelming hire. I do think the hire is getting clowned a little bit too much. Like, the reaction by some, and I've not been overly positive about it, but this idea that this is like the worst hire ever, that's not the case. Like, you could be critical of a hire and still acknowledge that Dan Quinn's deserving of another opportunity. Dan Quinn was a good coach, a head coach in the NFL. He's done a nice job with the Dallas Cowboys. But you could also say, yeah, I thought that they were going to get someone else. And when I take a look back and you thought that it was going to be Ben Johnson, yeah, it is disappointing that they didn't get Ben Johnson. But Ben Johnson didn't want the job. So there's nothing I could do, and there's nothing that Commanders fans could do where you don't get the job. You don't get the job to Ben Johnson. It's like, all right, then you got to pivot. And when you pivot, maybe Mike Vrabel didn't want the job. I think they should have hired Mike Vrabel. I think they should have went full out for Mike Vrabel. You know, I guess according to Diana Rossini, they considered Bill Belichick, but that didn't end up coming to fruition. And obviously some vetoed Bill Belichick in the organization. But when you had all this buzz and all this excitement brewing, and it ends up being Dan Quinn, you know, Dan Quinn is a fine name. Dan Quinn is a former good coach in this league. But I thought more would end up transpiring and there would have been a bigger name that would have landed with the Commanders. Now joining us is Joe Theismann. Won a Super Bowl. We all know the career of Joe Theismann, and he's kind enough to join us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Joe, I know it's been a while. How you been, my friend?
I've been good, Zach. Good afternoon to you. I hope all is well.
Yeah, thanks so much for jumping on board with us. What was your initial reaction when the Commanders ended up hiring Dan Quinn as their next head coach?
I thought they made a good choice. I thought, obviously, they've taken their time. We were the last one to sign the head coach, so their search committee with Josh and his group took a lot of time to look at a lot of different people. And I respect, and I actually like the hire. I think, you know, Dan brings a lot of experience. He's done terrific jobs where he's been, and to me, I think it was a good hire.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad hire, Joe. Like, I don't want this to get confused. I just thought it was underwhelming with all the energy, the excitement, and the buzz. Right, all those rumors that it was going to be Ben Johnson, and for whatever reason, Ben Johnson wanted to stay in Detroit. I just thought the name would have elicited like more excitement, I think, nationally.
Well, you know, I think, you know, if you look at Dan's history, I mean, he's been in 3 Super Bowls, been a top defensive coordinator, took Atlanta to the Super Bowl. You know, that one, we all know the history there. Mm-hmm. Names don't win football games. You know, Ben Johnson, I think most people said, okay, that's probably going to be who they're going to go after. Well, he's off the table. He wasn't available. And I think, obviously, the interviews had to go very well because Dan would be the head coach of the Commanders if they did not. And so from my perspective, he brings a lot to the table, a lot of experience. Now, you know, like any head coach, any of the new head coaches, and even any of the current coaches that have lost coordinators, that's a very important element to that football team. Who's going to coordinate the offense? He can't coordinate the defense. He's a head coach. So who do you know, who works with you, who has a philosophy and concepts that you're familiar with, that you feel comfortable with, handling that side of the ball?
There's been some speculation about maybe Chip Kelly leaving as the head coach of UCLA to be the Commanders' OC. Would that be a fine hire in your opinion?
I don't really know. I think I don't think it'll take too long a process. Chip's done a heck of a job the places he's been. Very creative, very inventive. You know, I think you know, coach. We have a lot of great coaches in the National Football League, and I'm sure there's a list as long as my arm that they'll look at.
Talking to Joe Theismann, there is excitement, though, brewing with the Commanders. When you bring in Josh Harris, you get rid of Daniel Snyder, you made a good hire from all things that we hear with the young up-and-coming GM that's been around the winning organization with Adam Peters. When you look, though, at the prospects and what the Commanders are building, it is bizarre to me, Joe, why Ben Johnson wouldn't want that job. Because, like, everyone thought that was going to be the case. It's like, what was wrong with the Commanders why he wouldn't want that job? That was weird to me.
Well, Zach, see, I don't look at it that way. I think the Detroit Lions stepped up and said, listen, you're a really young football coach. We've started something here in Detroit. We think our offense is explosive. We think our offense can be better next year. We think we can get things done. We think we can get back to where we want to go. If you want to leave, wish you a lot of luck. I'm sure they sweetened the pot for him to stay. I mean, you would think they would. But, to me, Ben staying was his choice. It was the Detroit Lions, I think, recognizing his talent, as a lot of teams in the National Football League did. And so I think it's great that he got something that made him happy, keeps him where he feels comfortable. And he's not finished with his name coming up in conversations for head coaches. Zach, you know this. We change head coaches every year.
Yeah,
we
a lot of them.
We change about a half a dozen every year. So it's not like the merry-go-round's going to go around and he's going to miss a shot at the brass ring. If it's one more year and Detroit accomplishes what they feel like they can on offense and want to, he'll have that opportunity again.
Talking to Joe Theismann right now, there's no doubt in your mind, right, that they're going to be taking a quarterback in the draft at number 2, I would think, right?
I would be very surprised if they did not. And you made, some good points, really good points. Is you've got new ownership. You've got a new general manager. You've got a new head coach. You've got energy and enthusiasm and excitement in the fans, evidence that the first game of the season against Arizona this past year was the first time that a game had been sold out in 18 years, the first game of the season. So the fans are all excited. Yes, it didn't go the way they wanted, but you're continuing to do things with these splashes. You're continuing to send the message that we want to be special. We want to keep on going forward. And I think that the quarterback position is one where you bring somebody in and Sam competes. If he wins the job, he wins the job. At least, you've got a young guy with experience. But I would be very surprised if that first pick by the Commanders is not one of the 3 quarterbacks.
Let's say Caleb Williams goes 1 to Chicago. Do you have a preference between Jaden Daniels and Drake May for number 2?
I really don't have a preference between any of them, even if Khalid didn't go to 1. And I think Chicago may wind up taking a quarterback as well because you talk about draft capital, they've got a fair amount of it. But I think that every one of them is going to have to learn how to play in the National Football League. Every one of them will have to grow in the National Football League. And everyone will have to go through the process. So all 3 of them will have things that they will need to work on to become professional quarterbacks.
Talking to Joe Theismann right now. I'm already sick of the conversation surrounding Brock Purdy, and we haven't even got into Super Bowl week. Like, you want to call him a game manager, you want to call him a system quarterback, you want to call him a good quarterback. I don't care, and he's winning right now with the 49ers. They're 60 minutes away from a Super Bowl, but I'll ask you the question, how do you view Brock Purdy as an NFL quarterback?
I think he is a top-flight NFL quarterback. I think he's smart. He makes good decisions with the ball in his hands. He showed us this last week that he has the ability to pick up key plays with his legs. And from my perspective, I think that, just because it doesn't matter where you were drafted. Where was Tom Brady drafted? I mean, come on. To me, I think he's done a terrific job the last couple of years. I think San Francisco would probably be in the same situation they are now had Brock been healthy last year and not get knocked out of the game. So when you've got a quarterback who has done the things that he has done, put up the numbers that he has put up, and run games like he has, you better have an awful lot of respect for him, in my opinion. And this whole thing about Mr. Irrelevant, all this, it doesn't matter. He gets the ball out of his hands quickly, like I said, makes good decisions with the ball in his hand, has the ability to make plays with his legs. He's in an offense and gets the ball to the people that can make plays also. So let's applaud him for what he is and what he's done, not what people think that he might be or might not have done.
Do you lean San Francisco in this game over the Chiefs?
I was afraid you were going to ask me, Zach.
This is a tough one because I'll tell you, Joe, my brain says Kansas City, you can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. But my gut says the Niners are a better team.
I tell you something. I have felt the same way. How do you bet against Patrick? and Andy. You can't forget that, and Spags, I think Spags has done a great job adjusting to the personnel on the other side of the ball. And San Francisco is a team. I don't believe that San Francisco could do what they did the last 2 playoff games, and that starts slow. I don't believe that they can get off to a slow start. I think they have to play, as you said, 60 minutes of football. You can't play 45 or 30 and expect to get it done. Today, as I sit here, I say San Francisco. If you and I have this conversation tomorrow, may have talked myself into Kansas City.
Yeah, my gut and my brain have been having a fight ever since we've known this matchup.
Exactly, mine too.
And I wonder how I'm going to pick next Friday when we're at the Super Bowl. All righty, last thing I'll ask you. I don't care how you win, just as long as you win. Did you feel like in the AFC Championship game, the Ravens were trying to win a specific way? Because it made no sense to me why they abandoned the run in that AFC title game.
I think they were trying to win the way they felt like they could win. I think Spags basically forced them out of the running game. Lamar didn't run as much as I thought he might. And when he did, he sort of took care of it. He usually runs with a lot of reckless abandon. And in that particular game, I felt like it wasn't quite the Lamar we had seen before. But again, I give a lot of credit to Kansas City and Spags on the defensive side. Basically say, we're going to put 7 guys at the line of scrimmage. You can't block everybody. We know that. And we feel like we'll put the pressure on Lamar to be able to throw the football against one-on-one coverage, man coverage. If you can do that and you beat us, then you win. If not, we'll have a chance to be able to win. But you got to remember how close, people sort of forget how close games are when we get to this point. Foolish penalties by the Ravens, giving Kansas City opportunities. Lost fumble, which unfortunately happens at a bad time in a bad place. But, there's 2 or 3 plays in every game. Detroit not being able to convert on 4th downs. Even though the calls might have been good, the execution wasn't there. So you can look at 3 or 4 plays in these championship games and say, if it had gone the other way, we'd probably see different teams in. But I felt like what Kansas City did defensively to Baltimore's offense was force them basically out of a comfort zone of wanting to be able to just run the football.
He's a Super Bowl champion, former league MVP. He is Joe Theismann. Joe, appreciate the time as always. Be well.
Thanks, Zach. You too. See you in Vegas.
You got it. We'll do. There he is, Joe Theismann, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll take a break. When we come on back, the LeBron camp says he's not getting traded, but he could opt out at the end of the year and then become a free agent. I have the top 5 destinations, in my opinion, for LeBron James to be playing basketball next season. Update time first. Here is El Capitan, Marco Belletti.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
All right, Zach, LeBron James always incites a reaction, so when he tweets out an hourglass, everyone and everything seem to be on notice. Well, LeBron's agent, Rich Paul, trying to put that one rumor to bed. LeBron saying he's not going to be traded, and he hasn't asked to be. Meanwhile, Jim Harbaugh, formerly introduced with the Chargers, and a former teammate, giving a little insight on what Harbaugh might do to help their offense. Here's Ryan Leaf, Good Morning Football, NFL Network.
Austin Eckler's a big part of what that could be with them running the football, but I do think that Saquon Barkley is going to be at the top of his list in terms of what he wants to do with the running back position with him being a free agent. I think they can franchise tag him again, which is
But yeah, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, but it's something I know that Jim Harbaugh wants to do. He wants to run the football, and he wants to use those guys down the field with play action.
The Bucs set to hire Kentucky offensive coordinator Liam Cohen to be their offensive coordinator. Titans expected to bring in Jaguars passing game coordinator Nick Holtz to be their offensive coordinator as well. And Theo Epstein, on his way back to the Red Sox, put this time as a minority owner, senior advisor to their parent company and Fenway Sports Group as well. Epstein has taken a step back in recent years after he led the Cubs to their first World Series title in 108 years. And of course, the architect of 2 world titles in Boston. I'm Marco Belletti.
What's going on, everybody? This is JR. Join me here on CBS Sports Radio for the JR Sport Brief. Weeknights, 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, little disclaimer before we get into our next segment. Even if the teams don't make sense from a dollar and cent standpoint, I don't want to hear it. There is nothing worse than the guy on social media. I actually should have probably saved this one Thursday for a Zach Gelb Show PSA. When you throw a player to a team and they're like, oh, well, they're going to be over the salary cap. How the heck do they make it work? Every time in sports, when someone bitches about a salary cap problem, they find a way to figure it out. I can't tell you how many years I sat at the NovaCare complex in Philadelphia at the end of the offseason, and you had some dweeb from like the Philadelphia Inquirer go to Howie Roseman. Howie, how are you going to get under the cap? You're like $100 million over the cap. And they always find a way for it to happen. Remember when the Saints were like literally 3 years ago, $100 million over the cap? People thought the organization was going to sink and they were never going to be able to get under the cap. And guess what? They found a way to make it work. Like the NFL, I know we're about to do an NBA topic, but the NFL, how people sit here and they still try to explain dead cap, and then there's all these like pre-June 1, post-June 1 cuts and everything. It's just like what we thought we knew about the salary cap, we know very little about it. We know there's a number. We know there's restructuring. We know there's ways to make big contracts, then through the years not look as big and all that stuff. They always find a way. There is a way. So don't tweet me or DM me at Zach Gelb. Like you said, LeBron should go to this team next year. Well, how the heck would they get under the cap? Oh, how would they get under the cap? Like, I just don't want to hear it. I'm not asking. This is one of the rare days where I'm not asking for logic. I don't want the math nerd listening to this show right now. There was a reason when I went to Temple University that I only took one math class. And it was because that was the required math class. And I got a C in it because it was a difficult class. I am not good at math. I'm the same guy that I once got on the air when Loyola Chicago was going on their great run, and I did a national radio show, and someone asked me what percentage of chance do you give them in whatever next game they were playing on their quest to the Final Four, and I was like, yeah, I give them a 60-30 chance to win the game. 60-30, I said. And then some guy calls in, he goes, you said you give them a 60-30 chance. What happened to the other 10%? And then I gave like the runaway line, oh, that was for Sister Jean. That was for the magic of Sister Jean. So I am not good with math. So when we do conversations on where a player should land, don't tell me about the salary cap. Bleep your salary cap. I don't care about your salary cap. Now, with that being said, I'm going to bring in Stu here because I want to ask Stu this question. We know LeBron's not getting traded from now until the trade deadline. I never really gave much credence to the idea LeBron was going to get traded. I thought it would behoove the Lakers to trade him. But when Rich Paul informs everyone today, LeBron James' agent, that you are not going to have LeBron James get traded, guess what? In a players-driven league, LeBron James ain't getting traded from now until the trade deadline. So I'll ask you this, Stu. He has a player's option. We all know he's going to opt out. I think everyone would be surprised. There is the Bronny factor here as well. Does Bronny come out this year? Does he stay another year at USC? LeBron could do what LeBron wants. I'm at the point, let Bronny be Bronny. Like, I get it's nice, father, son playing on the same team. It would be cool and all that. But I would let Bronny do his own thing. Like I said this yesterday, I'll say it again. When I elected to go to college, I didn't want my dad at college, right? When you start, or when I got my first job, I didn't want to work with my dad, like things like that. When you are that young and you're trying to find life on your own way, and it's so tough when LeBron James is your father because everyone's going to compare you to him no matter what, I don't think you need to go team up with dad somewhere. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be like all warm and fuzzy and heartwarming if that happens, but I just don't think LeBron should go about it that way. But LeBron doesn't give a bleep what I have to say, nor should he. So let me just ask you this, Stu. Right now, where does your gut tell you that LeBron James is going to be next year? Would you say in LA or the field?
I still think he will be in LA. I think he likes the idea of playing in Los Angeles because of his acting and all of the off-court stuff. And I think when Bronny comes to the league is when, which I don't think it's going to be next year. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. that's when I think he goes to another team. But I don't think he's going to go somewhere else to have a better chance at a ring. That's just my guess.
Yeah, from a basketball standpoint, it makes sense for Bronny to stay another year at USC. But if Bronny does, like, let's say Bronny's on board with his dad being on his team, then it does behoove Bronny to leave college a year, after 1 year, because I don't know if Bronny is a lottery pick right now. Like, he's averaging like 6 or 7 points per game, but let's also remember what he went through this summer. So, it's tough for me to evaluate Bronny right now, but it feels like Bronny isn't ready for the NBA. But let's say your dad makes it clear that he wants to play wherever his son goes, and he will sign whoever drafts his son. You will have teams that will have an early first-round pick. Because, let's be real with the NBA. Once you get past the first 3 picks of the draft, no one knows who the heck's going where. And no one, a lot of people don't even know these players, especially with how many foreign players are now in the NBA. Like, the NFL draft, the first round is so, you are glued to it. And even the second round, you're glued to it too. After the first 3 picks of the NBA draft, you could almost turn it off because it's very confusing too. You have all these players get drafted, then they get traded, but they can't say that it's official, so they're wearing the wrong hats at the podium. It's an absolute mess. It is a mess, the NBA draft. But if you do have that assurance from LeBron that he's going to go wherever Bronny goes, there's a team that could be in the lottery that definitely picks him, even if he's not deserving of being a lottery pick, because you know how much financial upside there is to getting LeBron James in your organization. But to what you said, Stu, I think this is a part that gets forgotten. When LeBron originally went to LA, a lot of people didn't think he was going to win a championship. And a lot of people thought that was the first time in LeBron's career he made a decision for his future, and a decision that was based off financial, with the Hollywood ties and all that, and setting up life after basketball, business ventures and things like that. Now, he ended up winning a championship in LA. And I do kind of agree with you, Stu, that it does feel like, even if I like it or not, that LeBron's going to wait for Bronny, and as long as Bronny is good for it, he'll stay in LA until Bronny hits the league. But with all that being said, let's just say we live in a world here where LeBron opts out this summer, Bronny doesn't enter the NBA, or Bronny does enter the NBA and he's like, Dad, I want to do my own thing. Here are 5 destinations that I would like to see LeBron James go to next year. The New York Knicks are one of them. The Knicks have a fun, exciting, competitive team. Jalen Brunson is a star. Jalen Brunson's making a case to be an MVP in the league. Julius Randle, even though he gets a lot of crap, he is once again an all-star. You got guys like Dante DiVincenzo continuing his successful story that started at Villanova. The Knicks, I feel like, need one more player. And how fun would that be? LeBron each and every night for home games at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. If it's not the Knicks, I also wouldn't mind the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry and LeBron James on the same team, hello, that would be awesome. I also wouldn't mind seeing the Dallas Mavericks make a move for LeBron James. Luka Doncic and LeBron James, I don't know if it's a fit, but it could be fun on the basketball court. And you also have the Kyrie factor. Once again, I'm excluding salary cap from this. I don't know if they can make it work. If there's a way, there's a way. But we know that Kyrie Irving the last 2 years has wanted to reunite with LeBron James. Who says you can't go home? Well, I'm not saying back to Cleveland for a third time. But what about the Miami Heat? The Heat have been close. The Heat have been in 2 NBA finals recently. I don't believe Jimmy Butler's getting traded. I saw Kendrick Perkins said that. I don't really understand why he would say that. And I like Big Perk. But why are we thinking that the Heat have done Jimmy Butler wrong? It's clear Jimmy Butler is a great player. But when he is the number one, you need other players around him. And the Heat, quite frankly, they are a team that can get to the finals. No one's going to want to go up against them. They're going to be a tough out. But even though Jimmy Butler is considered a one, I don't think he's the number one that you win a championship with. He's viewed as a number one. I kind of call him, though, a 1A, where I think you need another person on the 1 level to go win a championship. You bring LeBron in there, and let's say you could have like LeBron, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler, yeah, that would be fun. And then finally, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sixers, 10, 9, 8, 76ers. Clap your hands. I thought LeBron should have picked the Sixers before he picked the Lakers with the young core that they had. Now, Joel Embiid, who knows if his body's ever going to be able to hold up in the NBA? Tyrese Maxey is a young, I can't call him up and coming anymore because he's already been good for the last 2 years. He's a good player, and he has a very high ceiling. And you put LeBron on the Sixers, that trio of Embiid, Maxey, and LeBron, that could do some serious damage. Like the Sixers where they're currently constructed, they're not going to win a championship right now. So 5 destinations where I like to see LeBron James play next year if it's not the Lakers: Knicks, Warriors, Mavericks, Heat, and Sixers. Let's get back to the Chargers and Harbaugh conversation. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Let's go to Michael in Ohio. He's next up on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Michael, good afternoon. What's happening?
What's going on, Zach? How are you?
Doing great. Go ahead.
So I got off work today, came home, put it on, and, obviously talking about Harbaugh is the number one hire of the NFL season, and I can do nothing but agree with you. I believe that Harbaugh is going to turn the Chargers around really, really quick. And I just happened to get on and look at NFL mock drafts, and they have the Chargers with the fifth pick taking Rome Odunze or Brock Bowers. If you add that with already the receivers, and I heard they're trying to maybe thinking about Saquon Barkley, with adding Harbaugh's system over there, I'm in for more misery every single year. Harbaugh is just going to torment me. It was with Michigan and Ohio State. Now it's going to be with the Chargers against the Raiders.
Man, my condolences. I feel really bad that Harbaugh kicked your ass for the last 3 years with the Buckeyes. I feel really bad about that, Michael. I'm kidding, obviously. There you go. Michael joining us from Ohio. But he's not wrong. Like, people forget the chart. Like, that's the thing. Even though they should not have brought Staley back, they actually benefited from bringing Staley back a year later because they have now a last-place schedule. You got Jim Harbaugh, and they had the 5th overall pick. And I would think the first 3 picks in the draft are going to be quarterbacks: Williams, May, Daniels in whatever order. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be 4. And then after that, they could go alt the offensive lineman. They could go Brock Bowers, the tight end. They could take Neighbors from LSU or Rome Odunze. You could go a defensive player, too. Chargers got a lot of good options with the 5th overall pick, and now they have confidence with Harbaugh. He'll turn them around.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. Coming up 20 minutes from now, we'll try to win you some money for the Super Bowl. A little over a week out, we'll be joined by Taylor Mathis, betting analyst for Sports Grid. She will stop by. But before we get to Taylor, I do have to get to someone that's on the line right now at 855-212. For CBS, 855-212-4227. A source told me that he was very concerned at halftime of the NFC title game. He contemplated already eating an entire just pint of Van Leeuwen ice cream to try to make himself feel better. And once he ate that ice cream at halftime, Dan Campbell started to freeze up in a big spot. And not only freeze up in a big spot, allow his team to come on back and secure a spot in the Super Bowl. I'm surprised it took until Friday for this guy to call in, but now he is called in. He is our resident, degenerate 49ers fan. I guess that's the way to refer to him. And we know he's going to be very, very excited. Here he is, Ryan in Santa Barbara. Ryan, how are you?
What's going on, big boy?
You're going to the Super Bowl.
What's up, all the crew? How we doing? My boys are back in the big dance. I love that interview with Big Joe, too. Come on, Brock Purdy is a top-flight QB. No questions asked. Come on. I just arrived to the golf course, so I hope I don't drop you. I'm going to get a quick 9 in before we get a crazy Pineapple Express. They used to just call them rainstorm, but now it's like atmospheric river. Anyway, so you went big and bought a ticket to the Super Bowl. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing you on Radio Row on Saturday.
Well, we won't be there
Vegas should
Saturday.
be banging.
We won't be on Radio Row Saturday. We'll probably be at a party. Our show's only Monday through Friday. Come on, Ryan.
Well, then I better get there a day early.
You need to come with the sign.
A day early so I can see you in person. I better get there Friday. Change the plan.
Yeah, you need to come with the sign so we know it's you from a mile away.
You'll see my sign. Oh, yeah, you'll see it. Ryan
That way so we could identify security to get you out of there, all right?
Yes. I could taste those. I could taste those prime ribeyes and chilled martinis after the Niners get revenge and kick the Chiefs. Yeah, in Vegas.
So give me a prediction.
Niners 24, Chiefs 13.
24-13? You think you're blowing them out?
What do you got? Who do you have winning here, and what's your score?
Well, Ryan, I do a radio show all of next week, 5 days a week, and I will give my prediction on Friday. But all I will say right now, this is all I'll say. My brain has told me Kansas City. My gut is telling me the San Francisco 49ers.
Ooh, yeah, go with that gut when I fill it with martinis and prime rib. So let me ask you, you guys like escargot?
Oh my God, I love escargot.
It's great, because we'll start with escargot at the Golden Steer, Frankie's favorite steakhouse. Then we'll go, how do you like your martinis? You like them with dirty with blue cheese?
No. I do not like olives. I do not like olives. I'm a spicy margarita guy
I'm with
or an
you
old
there.
fashioned.
So, okay, so we'll both do lemon twist.
Okay, whatever you say.
I can't wait. So after the win and Taylor and her Swifties are bawling their eyes out.
Hey, we like the Swifties. We're a fan of the Swifties. Don't be talking
crap
about the Swifties.
I know, but they're going to be crying hard come Sunday.
All righty, Ryan.
Boy.
Hit him straight. I know you probably can't hit him straight because you're probably not sober enough to hit him straight, but good luck on the golf course. Samter, Ryan in Santa Barbara, he has been telling us all year that the Niners are going to go to the Super Bowl. I have no clue if any of the places he just said were actual places or not, but he has made it clear all year he was going to attend Radio Row. Now, he threw out Saturday. I don't know why he would think we'd be on the air Saturday, but let's be real. There's a few screws loose with Ryan in Santa Barbara, clearly. But do you think he will be there on Friday at the Super Bowl at Radio Row?
He's going to try to be. I don't know how he's getting in.
Well, is it open to the public? Some years it's open to the public, like fans. It's in a casino, right, this year? Mandalay Bay, right?
Listen, I mean, maybe the surrounding areas, but typically where the actual talent, the athletes are, the fans aren't allowed to be around the talent and the athletes.
No,
they can kind of go around the circumference, around the perimeter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, listen, could he be
But some years
that...
they let him in Radio Row. I've seen fans, I don't know if this is going to be the case in Vegas. Some years they let him in Radio Row, and yeah, they're walking around, but it would not surprise me if we're on the big set and you have Ryan in Santa Barbara there just jumping up and down like a fat kid at a candy store.
Listen, he says he's going to be there. I trust he's going to be there. He said he was going to send us ice cream. He sent us ice cream.
Yeah, that is true.
He's been a man of his word. I just hope he's not too much of a man of his word and that we don't have to worry about fending him off.
I'm going to say, Ryan in Santa Barbara, nice to meet you. Moist Mike is a big, big, big fan of yours. You should talk to him.
I'm just going to say there's going to be so much for me to do while I'm out there, Zach, between the stream and the guests and corralling people and cutting things for social. I'm just not going to have time for Ryan.
I feel like Ryan in Santa Barbara is actually like a good dude.
He's a great guy. He's got energy. He's funny.
A little wacky.
He's nice. Yeah, but you know what, though? Like, which
like
one of us here is not a little wacky?
Barbecue. He's the crazy uncle at the barbecue.
But he's like the crazy fun uncle at the barbecue, not the crazy, like, get out of my face uncle at the barbecue.
Now, I don't know if he listened to me when I was on from 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern. I don't remember interactions with Ryan in Santa Barbara.
I'd imagine that if he did, he probably wouldn't be listening now and enjoying the show. You know, it's so much better now with me rather than Hickey.
What is up with these producers and the ego some of you producers have now around?
I'm just saying the show is better with me and Stu than it was with Hickey.
I'm not going to comment on that. Like, I love working with you guys.
What do you mean you're not going to comment? You have to say yes.
I love working with you guys. I love Ryan. Like, what are you trying to do? Like,
yeah, but
make me
Ryan
pick
is the
favorites?
ex and we're the current,
Oh,
right? So,
yeah,
like, even
good
if you
point.
had a great time with your ex-girlfriend, if your current girlfriend's like, who did you like better, me or the ex?
Hickey sucks, you're right.
Yeah, there you go. Come on, man.
Now,
this is dating 101 or producing 101.
Well, this will be a big thing in our relationship here, our radio relationship. Do you like escargot?
I've had it once, but it was so long ago, I can't unequivocally say I do or do not. However,
would you eat escargot if I ordered it?
100%, absolutely. I'm
I like
very
you more than
adventurous
Hickey.
food-wise, so I would absolutely try it. I just don't remember if I liked it. It was so long ago. I was like 13 or 14 when I had it, so I don't remember.
Okay, so Hickey refused. Absolutely. I took
The dude eats like chicken and peanut butter and jelly, and that's
Yes.
it. Like the guy eats nothing.
But I took Hickey out to a nice restaurant in Las Vegas, and I said, I want you to try the escargot. And I had to sit there like I was a parent to a toddler. And I was like, here comes the escargot. Chugga, 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 choo, choo. And he would not eat the escargot. Refused. He panicked so much. Dan Silverman from Westwood, who does a good job and works with us down at the Super Bowl, he saw Hickey like jump at the thought of eating escargot, and Hickey spilled an entire cup of water all over the table because he was paranoid that I was going to force him to eat the escargot. So he never tried escargot in his life, and he says it sucks. So that's, you are right. I do like you more than Hickey because of one reason and one reason only. You will be willing to try escargot at the Super Bowl.
And not just escargot, like actual human adult food. Ryan Hickey's a child when it comes to eating.
Yeah, I will say, you do eat well. You do have a lot of good meals here today.
There's
mac and cheese, what was the mac and cheese that you had today?
Oh, that was from my favorite Trader Joe's. That was a butternut squash mac and cheese.
Looked pretty good.
Delicious.
Looked pretty good.
I will say this. There is nothing that is edible on this planet that I haven't either tried or am not willing to try. I will try anything as long as it will not kill me.
Well, Hickey
like
once-
puffer fish is the one thing I probably won't try because it's not worth it.
Hickey once got me a scorpion lollipop that's still in my locker. Would you eat the scorpion? That's in the lollipop. It's a dead scorpion.
Will I or have I already done it multiple times? Yes. Have I eaten the worm in a mezcal? Yes.
Okay.
Have I eaten the scorpion in one of those? Like, I lived in Arizona. There's scorpions everywhere. I've eaten scorpion.
Yeah. Is it good?
Because usually, typically, in order to
Chipotle
get the
mayo on it?
poison and everything out of the scorpion, you have to like cook it a certain way. So like, it's just basically it's just crunchy. It just tastes like a crunchy thing.
You think a little of the poison got in your system? That's maybe the way that you are?
You know what? What are we talking about here? What's our topic to get into right now? Because first you were questioning whether or not you like me more than Hickey, and now you're saying that I have scorpion poisoning. So we need to move on here.
Mama Gelb is always listening to the show. She says, that's not nice for Michael. We like Ryan, but who doesn't like escargot? My mom thought you were a little too critical of Hot Take Hickey.
Well, listen, if we can be critical of Shep, we can be critical of Hickey.
Well, come on. You know what? I don't think we need to mention Shep anymore.
I kind of put them on the same par.
That's not fair to Hickey.
They're about even in my book.
That's not fair to Hickey.
Listen, Hickey's a nice guy, but man,
I would say Hickey,
like him and Shep, they're like, I look at them like they're the exact same person to me, basically.
Put it this way. Hickey is like comparable in my mind to a Jaden Daniels. Like superstar potential, maybe had a slow start, but now is thriving, could be award winning. And then like I look at Shep and, Shep is like Perry Ellis, all right? Just been around for a long time. Maybe wins here and there. But it's like, man, that's the guy that's been here for 8 years. All right? Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit about comparing Shep and Hickey. I don't think that's fair to Hickey.
Yeah, to me, they're Michael Pratt of Tulane.
Oh, Michael Pratt was a pretty good quarterback the last
he'll
few
be like
years
a
at
third-round
Tulane.
pick. They're both right there.
That's not nice. Let's go to Adrian in Maryland next up on CBS Sports Radio. Yo, Adrian.
Yo, what's up, Zach? Good talking to you. Hey, buddy, are you trying to sabotage just about every team in the NBA with this LeBron moving to here and there?
What do you mean?
Because I'm a Knicks fan, and they don't need him there. They don't need him. They need somebody to come off the bench with some grit, just like they got to help out. They got Randall and what's the name from Toronto. They got both of those guys.
Anunoby.
Tough name to pronounce. They're injured right now, and Brunson is playing out his Can I say ass? Well, I just did. Sorry.
You just did. Yeah, that's fine. Usually when someone says, can I say this word, and they say the word, you usually know you can't say it, but usually the word is worse than ass. Ass wasn't bad there, Adrian.
All right. Well, Zach, he's playing out his ass. I got him at 15,000 to 1 the other night to win the MVP. What do you think?
Wait, it was at 15? You mean 1,500 or 15,000?
15,000. 15,000. He's at 5,000 right now.
That's a pretty good MVP bet.
It went down to 5,000 today. I looked at it today. It went down.
How much did you throw on it?
What'd you say?
How much money did you throw on it?
I just put 100 on it. Just 100.
100 on a 15,000 to $1 ticket?
Yeah, and last night he went off for 40, and a lot of my friends was like, "Man, I should have got in on that."
That's pretty damn good. Hey, Samter.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, no, I think that's got a chance, especially if like the Knicks get up to like the 2 seed.
Right.
That there's a good outside chance, and now you have the Embiid injury too. So who knows when he's going to come back?
They don't want to give it. They don't want to give it to the Joker again, and they need the Knicks to be relevant, right?
Yeah. So right now I see it at +5. Yeah. So man, that's a good job out of you, Adrian. Thanks so much. Appreciate the phone call. Yeah. No, they could give it to Joker again. I do feel like when you win 2 MVPs, they make it so much tougher in the NBA. Like once you become the guy, they try to find reasons to not give you the award rather than winning the award. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, could be in play. Giannis will always be in play, but the Bucks have been an underwhelming story, even though the record is very good. You know what? Brunson isn't a bad pick.
It's not a good pick. It's just a good value. It's not a good pick. He's not going to win.
Why can't he win the MVP award?
Because he's Jalen Brunson. That's why.
Do you know this was a National Player of the Year in college basketball? Do you know this is a champion? You know this is a guy that has exceeded expectations every single place that he has gone? Like Embiid was the clear cut. Now Embiid is hurt. This MVP is wide open, and there's so many guys that have won it before that will be in the conversation. The Knicks are on a 9-game win streak. They're 32-17. Brunson's been the best player on their team. Like, if they finish as the 2 seed, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, there's going to be a great case for Jalen Brunson. I've always been a big Jalen Brunson fan. I remember when I was a student at Temple. He was supposed to get the job at Temple. Then his dad was supposed to be on the staff, and he may or may not have been in a massage parlor saying he was Patrick Ewing. And then they couldn't hire him, and then he ends up going to Villanova. But Jalen Brunson hangs out at the same shore town that I hang out in the summer. And each and every summer I see him at one establishment, this place called Tomatoes down at the Jersey Shore. I'm a big Brunson fan, and I think Brunson has done a sensational job. He's exceeded expectations everywhere he goes. And sometimes there's years where you're like, oh, I can't remember that player winning the MVP. This could be setting up for him to be the MVP of the league. Because, usually you have to be a top 3 seed to be an MVP of the league. I guess you could make a case for Jason Tatum. I don't think it's going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo this year. You want to tell me like an Anthony Edwards or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? I guess Nikola Jokic. Brunson's right up there. I think he's I'm 15,000 to 1. That's a crazy number.
It's great odds, and it's a great number. It's great value. Yeah. He's not winning the MVP.
But now he got it to now it's at 2,500 or 4,000 or 3,000, 4,000, depending on what sportsbook you look at. Yeah, I don't think it's crazy.
Because the Knicks have won 9 straight. He's the hot thing. And then, listen, betting, especially throughout the season, it's going to fluctuate and it's going to move up and down. They're not, right now, he and they are as hot as they'll ever be throughout the season. He's not winning MVP. Mm-hmm. We can make a bet on it right now. He's not winning MVP.
Well,
I like Jalen Brunson too. He's not winning MVP.
You're saying there's a 0% chance.
Not a 0% chance.
But hold on.
But a very, very, very slight chance.
Yeah, but how you dismiss it, that's what I disagree with. I'm not telling you he's definitely going to win the MVP, but there's no bet in my favor here. If you want to put a scale to it or something like that, that's different. But the way you've dismissed it basically there's no percentage of chance here. And that's just not true.
Again, not 0, but 5% chance.
Well, you know what? We have a betting insider coming up on the other side. Taylor Mathis. Maybe I'll ask her about the NBA MVP. We'll do a lot of Super Bowl, but maybe I'll get our NBA MVP thoughts and if it could be Jalen Brunson. All righty. Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. We'll do a little betting talk for the Super Bowl coming up next with Taylor Mathis. Back in 5.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, let's try to win you some money right now as we get you set for the Super Bowl next week. Just a reminder, we'll be broadcasting in Las Vegas live on Radio Row Monday through Friday next week from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 p.m. Pacific. Welcome in right now Taylor Mathis, who is a betting analyst for Sports Grid TV, and she's kind enough to join us right now on the Zach Gelb Show. Taylor, always great to see you. Appreciate the time. How you been?
I've been great, Zach. I'm super excited for next week, too. I will also be in Vegas, so I'm sure I might run into you at some point. It's always busy, always crazy on Radio Row, but I'm super excited to get there next week.
Yeah, always is a zoo, no doubt about that. When we get into the game, I know you have a few interesting thoughts about the running back position and who you like to be the leading rusher in this game. Give me a little breakdown of that.
I do. Everybody's mind immediately goes to 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey as the leading rusher within this Super Bowl game between the Chiefs and the 49ers. My mind goes the opposite way. I'm going to go with Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco to lead the Super Bowl in rushing yards within this game. Reason being, Pacheco has been more efficient through the playoffs. In every single Chiefs playoff game, he has been the leading rusher within those games. Christian McCaffrey, he has not been for the 49ers. I'm going to go with Isaiah Pacheco. It's got a little bit more value behind it right now at plus 170 for him to be the rusher within Super Bowl 58.
What do you think of the spread of this game, by the way? Because I've been having a fight with my brain and my gut the entire week. My brain says don't bet against Patrick Mahomes, but then I feel like the 49ers are a better team. I know that it's been at 2.5, somewhere around there in favor of the 49ers. What did you make of the line when it initially came out?
The line surprises me a little bit, and I particularly am going to stay completely away from the spread. I'm taking the Chiefs on the money line. Patrick Mahomes is 14-3 in the playoffs. He's going to be starting in his 4th Super Bowl before the age of 30. No other quarterback in NFL history has accomplished this. And he already has 2 rings. I think a 3rd is coming on the way, and Chiefs Kingdom will be singing loud and proud that they are a dynasty after this Super Bowl. Mahomes is on the way to being the GOAT. So the fact that the Chiefs are a dog going into the Super Bowl against the 49ers is a little mind-boggling to me. I'm not even going to go with the spread. We're going straight up money line on Kansas City.
When you take a glance at the over-under, if you're taking Kansas City, it makes me think you're going to take the under 47.5, because as strong as Mahomes is, right, there no points in the second half of the AFC Championship game. And that offense, it's weird. They haven't been humming this year, but here they are once again, still in a Super Bowl. So do you lean over or under at 47.5?
I'm not a huge totals bettor. It's kind of my area I stay away from, I would say, the most. If I had to go, though, I lean towards the under. We tend to see a lot of people, especially casual bettors, always want to go with the overs when it comes to props, totals, everything like that right off the bat. You kind of wait. A lot of sharps will wait to see where that money is going to go first and then hit a lot of those unders. I think the same could be said for the total within this game. You do have 2 high-powered offenses, but really the Chiefs' defense has been a huge narrative throughout this season for them. I lean towards the under a little bit within this game, thinking that both these defenses are going to come out hot and on top.
Now, I don't know what the public breakdown is with the sharps and all that stuff. We're still over a week away from the game as Taylor Mathis is here with us from Sports Grid TV. She does a great job, betting analyst for Sports Grid TV. Does it at all concern you? I know you just picked the Chiefs. I know you're confident in the Chiefs on the money line. I feel like a lot of the public, though, will be on Kansas City because a lot of people will sit here like me and they'll just be like, well, Mahomes is the best quarterback. Mahomes is going to be a top 5 quarterback of all time. Somewhere in the top 3. We'll see what happens, as he tries to chase Brady. Does that at all concern you, though, even though you picked Kansas City? How many people will probably be on the Chiefs?
No, it doesn't concern me really at all. You look at the AFC Championship game between the Ravens and the Chiefs, and everybody was giving Baltimore the win before the game even started. So I got to go with the Chiefs. I know that the public's going to be backing them. Of course, we've got the casual bettors that are coming in, that maybe some females that are leading on to at the NFL now because of Taylor Swift as well, and everybody wanting to bet on the Chiefs and hope that Taylor Swift's boyfriend's going to do great in the game. I still love it, though. Even as somebody who bets every single day, considers myself somebody who's constantly looking at the market, I like the Chiefs. I just think that they are the better move in this game.
Now, let me be abundantly clear. I do not think Travis Kelce is proposing to Taylor Swift after the game. I saw you could bet that at plus 920 if it does happen. I do think one day they will get married. I'm a believer in this relationship.
Me too.
But what do you what are your thoughts about proposals at a stadium? Like, would you be fine if that's what Travis Kelce elected to do? Because that's always rubs me the wrong way, the proposal at the stadium.
Okay, so you and I are on the same page then, because for me, this is Taylor Swift we're talking about. She is pretty much the queen of the universe right now, and you're telling me you're going to propose to her in front of a ton of people, likely after you would have won a Super Bowl. I don't think that that's going to be happening. I don't think that she'd ideally want an engagement like that either, so I'm steering clear of that. I definitely do not think that they are going to be getting engaged. But I do see wedding bells in the future for Kelce and Taylor Swift as well. I'm on the same page.
Well, how about that? Let me get to George Kittle. How do you think he will end up doing in the Super Bowl? What stands out to you with Kittle?
I'm going with George Kittle, longest reception under 21.5 receiving yards. And this is not a knock on George Kittle at all. He's a fellow Hawkeye. We graduated the same year from Iowa. I love Kittle crushing some games, but when you look at the numbers, the Chiefs give up the explosive plays in the NFL at the third lowest rate, and they've faced 39 different tight ends this season. Only 36% of them went over 21.5 receiving yards total, and just 2 of those tight ends went over that longest reception prop. There is no way I see him going over that number, even though he's hit it 80% of the time through the last 10 games. The Chiefs secondary is too good. They'll keep the passes short. We're going to go Kittle, longest reception, under 21.5 total yards.
Now, I'm not a betting expert. I fully admit I lose more than I win. But with that being said, I've been hot this year with these anytime touchdown parlays. I just care about Kittle getting in the end zone. I have George Kittle and Travis Kelce at plus 411 on an anytime touchdown parlay. Who are some players that you like to get in the end zone in this one?
I'm not a huge anytime touchdown better. So the fact that you're hitting anytime touchdown parlays, I got to take some tips from you. The anytime touchdown market is very volatile. You might have a guy like Travis Kelce, who's gotten in the end zone in every single playoff game this season, and then he might miss it in the Super Bowl when right now it's juiced to the over rather than the under. I have got to go. If I'm going to put money on anybody, it's going to be wide receiver on the 49ers, Deebo Samuel. He is so good in every single facet of the game. He can get into the end zone rushing. He can catch the ball, and he is just one of a kind in the NFL for what he can do after contact within a play. Samuel's got a career high of 12 trips to the house this season. He hasn't scored in the postseason, but anytime is as good a time to score in the Super Bowl. I'm going to go with Samuel at plus 175 right now.
Yeah, I like Deebo Samuel as well, even though he hung up the phone on me this summer in an interview. I do think he's getting in the end zone this upcoming Sunday or next Sunday in the Super Bowl. Let me ask you one more here. Kicking game, that always plays a factor. Do you like either of these kickers? You have a bet there?
I do. I'm going to go with Kansas City's kicker, Harrison Butker, over 6.5 total points. This guy is one of the most accurate kickers in the NFL. He did not miss a single PAT throughout the entire regular season. He only missed 2 field goals. He's been completely perfect through the postseason. And kickers, they tend to be overlooked, but in high-stakes games within the playoffs or the highest stake game that you have in the Super Bowl here, every point matters, and points are sometimes hard to come by. So if you can have a kicker that is very accurate, like Butker, it's a way that you could come away with the win as opposed to not coming away with the title at the end of the game. We'll go with Butker in a kicking prop over 6.5 total points.
One more for Taylor Mathis, who's given us some great information, betting analyst for Sports Grid TV. Is there something in this Super Bowl that maybe people aren't really talking about, or there's a line that or a prop or something that you just look at and you go, you're so confident in it that we haven't talked about yet?
Oh, I think I'm pretty confident, which a lot of people might be on this because, as I said, everybody's all over Mr. Taylor Swift to get in the end zone for Mr. Taylor Swift to have a great game. I'm going to go with Mr. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, over 6.5 total receptions. He just dominates and he really flourishes within the postseason, as we've seen right now. It's been the best postseason he's had. 27 targets, 23 catches for 262 yards, averaging nearly 8 catches a game right now. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, the connection's real, and they have a completion rate of over 80% in their playoff career together. Got to go with Kelce over 6.5 total receptions. I'm very confident in that bet.
She is Taylor Mathis, betting analyst for Sports Grid TV. Taylor, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks so much, Zach. Appreciate it.
You got it. Taylor Mathis joining us on the show, trying to win you some money for Super Bowl Sunday, next Sunday in Las Vegas with the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the San Francisco 49ers. Marco Belletti, before we get to a CBS Sports Radio update, as I've been saying all throughout the week, and I have to figure it out over the weekend in Las Vegas, I'm having a fight with my brain and my gut. I as a man's man, like to trust my gut more than my brain. But in this Super Bowl, my brain tells me the Chiefs are going to win. My gut tells me the 49ers are going to win. I look at you. I don't know if my gut's telling me this or my brain is telling this, but one way or the other, I look at you as like one of the veteran voices here at CBS Sports Radio, a voice of reason, a voice of guidance for someone like me.
Code for just old as hell. Go ahead.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who do you think wins the Super Bowl?
I like the Chiefs. I've been saying all year that I thought that there was something missing. I think we all did. There was something missing. There was something off. It wasn't just the drop passes. They seemed to tick off all year. And they found a way to ratchet it up in the last month or so. They're finding, whether it's the emergence of Rice or whatever it's been, they found something in themselves. And they found something in the last few weeks. And the mantra of being on the road, they've done a really nice job of kind of gathering themselves, relying on their defense, getting the run game going, and then just putting it in Patrick Mahomes' hands and let it go. And the 49ers, I'm getting less and less confidence the more I see them play, because I feel
slow
like it's partly, no, it's not this. It's not even the slow start. I can somewhat live with that. There's two things that I don't like. The last couple of weeks, Brock Purdy has not impressed. He was awful in the Packer game. Nice drive at the end. He was awful. You want to blame it on the rain? You want to blame it on the postseason? Blame it on the expert? Whatever you want to blame it on. He didn't look like the Brock Purdy we saw all year. That concerns me.
What about? I thought he looked fine in the Lions game.
He was better in the second half. In the first half, he was missing throws
he was
again.
terrible in the first half.
That's the problem. You can't be terrible for a quarter or a half in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs and think you're going to be able to overcome it. The other trend that I don't like, the 49ers have been gashed in the run game. Gashed in the run game.
Big
the last
Pacheco game.
And I can see Andy Reid designing all kinds of different runs to get whoever the hell involved. Not just Pacheco.
Yeah, which would go against the Andy Reid way because he likes to throw.
But he knows to expose your opponent. And Andy Reid's been a big game coach. I know a lot of that
with
stuff
Kansas
early
City.
With the Eagles. Yeah, I don't want to hear it. I think a lot of that had to do with his players. But I still feel like Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan has to kind of answer to some of those too. He was a little tight in the Packer game. He was a little tight in the Lions game.
A lot of big games,
so if he's tight and Brock Purdy's tight and you got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid on the other side, I feel a lot more comfortable with the Chiefs in this game than I thought I would 3 weeks ago.
Out of 100%, where do you think that this is the last game Andy Reid's coaching?
I think it's less than 50. I think he's back. I don't think Andy Reid walks away.
I put it at 8.
There's some smoke, obviously, so that means there's some fire. There's some thought. Whenever you get up in age, there's always that thought process.
Yeah, everyone's like, hey, old man, when are you retiring?
Well, but I mean, like you start getting into your 60s.
65,
and yeah, that's what I mean. Your 60s and 70s, people start looking and go, oh, you've been doing this for so long. Don't you want to go out on top? Don't you want to go out with a Super Bowl? And how many chances do you think you're going to get to go out on top? Andy Reid strikes me as a lifer. He's not a guy that wanted to walk away. He was not a guy that got burnt. A lot of guys get burned out. The biggest thing that Belichick did, in my mind, not only just the success, he never got burnt out. You never heard about him wanting to walk away. He's a lifer. I think Andy Reid's in that same category.
And also, like you mentioned it, the Philadelphia stuff. He was close for so many years. And then you get to Kansas City. You were close. Like, you were good. You were never going to win the Super Bowl with Alex Smith. And then you guys, Brett Veach, him, all them, they identified Mahomes. They traded up to go get him. And now you have the quarterback. And you've won 2. You could win 3 after next Sunday. Personally, after being close for all those years, I know it's ideal to walk off into the sunset, but I would get greedy and see how many I could get.
Again, I think he's a lifer. I think he enjoys it. I think he wants to be around it. And I think he's also really smart. And that means that he knows how to delegate. He's going to work on what he wants to work on. He's got a really good relationship with Steve Spagnuolo. He's got him running the defense. He can run his offense, but he's got Matt Nagy there to help him with any of the... He knows that he can put different pieces on different guys to be able to adjust.
In this run, they haven't had a lot of change. And even when there was change, it went back to familiar faces. Like the enemy leaves up, Maggie, then they promote, but then he comes back, all that stuff.
And maybe the enemy comes back again. Who knows?
Yes.
He's got nowhere to go right now.
Spags, too. It's crazy.
He's been there for a while now, Spags.
Spags deserves... I don't think he'll get another opportunity as a head coach. I know it was terrible with the Rams. But he has been a rock star there in Kansas City. I think he deserves another head coaching opportunity. I don't think he's driven by it, but I've asked him this question before. Last year after winning a Super Bowl, he would love another chance to do it, but I think he realizes down deep he's not going to get one. So the guy still loves coaching, and now you get a rock star defensive coordinator. Coaches like continuity. It's tough when you win to have continuity, but that's the thing. They haven't had that many changes in the big power position.
No. And again, I don't think there's going to be a lot coming. So I feel like Andy Reid is in the absolute perfect scenario. And look, it's possible you could walk away. I mean, guys have done it on top and walk away, and then they regret it, and then they come back. Or they do. I don't think Andy Reid is...
Yeah, but if you walk away from Kansas City and you're Andy Reid, you can't come back
That's
anywhere.
the thing. I don't think he
because
does.
Anywhere you come back, you're not getting a Patrick Mahomes.
And I don't think he wants to do it with anybody else. Why would you want to start over?
Yeah, it'd be stupid.
You've got right now the greatest quarterback that's playing.
Yes.
I mean, what are we doing? Why would you want to start over with that? And again, there are guys that are driven by the winning, the whatever. I think Andy Reid just likes to be around it. I think he just likes to be around football. He likes to be around the guys. He likes to come up with different plays. He likes to just be in the building.
Absolutely.
I don't think that's something that goes away for him.
All righty, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. Come on back with a news brief. But first up with the latest CBS Sports Radio update. Here he is, Marco Belletti, who's nowhere close to retiring anytime soon, is also what sources tell me. You're not riding off into the sunset.
I got no money. You let me ride off to the sunset. I'll be gone. Trust me, you'll never see me again.
Yeah, the car will break down.
Give me money? No problem. See you later. My couch is calling. No problem there.
Here he is, Marco Belletti.
I'll look like Andy Reid in about 6 months.
Get him a burger!
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Zach, LeBron James not going anywhere. At least that's the word from his agent, Rich Paul. Rumors swirling about LeBron possibly wanting an exit out of L.A., but Paul made it clear LeBron's not asking out. Lakers find themselves 500, currently 9th in the Western Conference, and they're going to have to make do without Jared Vanderbilt for at least several weeks, that due to a right foot injury. John Harbaugh met the media for the year-end discussion about the disappointing loss in the AFC Championship. Lamar Jackson likely looking at a second MVP despite the holdout and a new offense, and Harbaugh made it clear Jackson will be given plenty of input on what he wants things to look out for next year.
You say Lamar has the keys to the offense, okay? Now you build the offense, it's like setting up a car. We got to build a car. We got to set the car up. If Lamar's a driver, he's got to be involved in the setup of the car even more. Last year that wasn't even possible, right? This year, he's going to be involved, and we've talked about it. He's already involved.
And Theo Epstein's involved. He's back with the Red Sox. Former GM is now a minority owner and senior advisor to their parent company, Fenway Sports. Epstein, of course, led the Red Sox to a pair of World Series, including 2004, their first since 1918. Went on to join the Cubs, brought home their first title in 108 years. Epstein will now try to get the Red Sox turned around. They have finished last in the AL East 3 of the last 4 years. I'm Marco Belletti.
Hey, it's Bart Winkler. A new year means a new show. Catch the Bart Winkler Show weekday evenings starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God, we're back again.
All right, it's time to answer our Ask the Pros question of the day, and it's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Will in Las Vegas says, Zach, with your upcoming trip to Vegas, What's your favorite casino game? You could submit a question by tweeting at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. You could think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said it was blackjack. The last 2 years, I have become a big fan of roulette. And that has been my game of choice. And I know you're supposed to go inside the square, rectangle, whatever you want to call it, whatever the shape is, and like put money on the numbers. I just love riding black or red, black or red, black or red. And I've had success doing that. And then once I win enough money there, I'll throw a few chips in there and see what happens. But it sounds lame, but that's what I do.
You're at I think, 48% for each color that you go with.
I've been pretty good.
Because you have the 0 green.
I was going to say that you were
makes
being serious. I thought you were making a joke.
No. Just from odds of roulette, everyone thinks, black or red at 50-50. Nuh-uh.
Stu, what's your favorite casino game?
It is blackjack. That is my game of choice. I also like slots as well. Those are my two.
Ooh, Stu slots. Oh, ding, 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 ding. My only problem with blackjack is I sometimes get bored. Like, I'll be up, and then I'm like, all right, I just sat here for an hour and a half. I won like $100, $150. I'm like, is that really worth it? Let me just throw it all on one hand and then just see what happens. Yeah, so I get very impatient with blackjack. Samter, what's your favorite casino game of choice?
It's the only game that matters. It's poker. Poker is by far the best casino game.
Sources tell me Samter counts cards, by the way. So I look forward to seeing Samter get thrown out of the casino when we go to Vegas.
You can't count cards in poker, buddy.
I'm just saying. You can. Was there a movie about that, 21?
Yeah, that's blackjack.
Oh, is that blackjack?
Yeah.
Oh, so I was wrong on that. All right. Whatever. Anyway.
No, you can still cheat in poker.
You can. You have a good poker face. You do look like someone that would... You could lie, is what I'm saying.
I am a very good liar. That is for damn sure.
All righty. Let's get to a news brief. Let's get to it.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Let's go to Jim Harbaugh. He was on with Colin Cowherd on FS1, and he had a few things to say about his former quarterback in J.J. McCarthy.
Arm talent, athleticism, it factor, winning with numbing repetition. Don't be surprised when he goes to, he's the number one quarterback off the board. That's my prediction right now. When people get a load of JJ and what he, how he can throw the ball, how he spins it, his athleticism, his intelligence, talk about it factor, he's got it.
I love Jim Harbaugh. I do. I respect him going to bat for hhis guy. There's a 0% chance JJ McCarthy's the first quarterback off the board in this draft. He could be a first-round pick. There is a 0.0000. There's actually a negative 85% chance that he's the first overall pick in the draft. Let's go to Aiden Diggs, the son of Trayvon Diggs.
No. Yes, you're right.
Yes,
I'm sorry. Trayvon Diggs.
Right.
Yes.
Jeez. Aiden Diggs, the son of Trayvon Diggs. He saw Sauce Gardner at the Pro Bowl and wanted to talk a little bit of smack in favor of his uncle, Steph Diggs. Here is Aiden Diggs, the son of Trayvon Diggs.
No. Oh, wait, yes.
Go ahead. Play the audio.
You were talking trash about us? And look what happened. What happened? Scored on you that week 1 game. I remember that.
I have now heard Aiden Diggs a lot the last 3 years. I actually think he's better than 99% of the people that talk about football. Think about the cojones he has to go up to, at that age, Sauce Gardner and be like, Sauce, nice to meet you. Yeah, I remember what you said about my uncle, and he scored a touchdown on your ass in week 1. That is phenomenal. Let's go to Calvin Johnson. He was on the RG3-1's podcast on Dan Campbell's aggressive decision-making in the NFC title game.
You never want to second guess your coach. Dan has definitely been this way, like you say, the last 3 years. So this doesn't come as a surprise. I might have just, maybe did something different, but I'm not the coach. I would just try to just pad the point, pad the scoreboard maybe as much as possible just to slow down their momentum.
Yeah, I think Calvin Johnson's right. The first field goal did annoy me. The second field goal attempt that he did not go for it, that did annoy me in the second half. The run I thought still was the most egregious, even though they probably weren't going to come back anyway. Here is Patrick Mahomes Sr. Where does Patrick Mahomes rank all time? Just to be clear, Patrick Mahomes Sr. is the father, Samter, of Patrick Mahomes.
No, the uncle. Oh, wait, no, you're right, father.
Yes. Here's him on with Evan Cohen on ESPN Radio.
That's still to be determined. He still has a way to go. I have mad respect for Tom Brady. And I grew up as a Joe Montana fan. Those guys is that ilk. So he's on the right trajectory. But right now, I'll still say those guys are better. I mean, I think he's the most athletic quarterback that we've seen. I think he can do a lot more things than some of those other guys could do. But as far the name of the game is winning, and those guys won at a great rate. And right now, Patrick, is doing what he needs to do. But those guys, to me, still have the nod.
I love Patrick Mahomes Sr. I may actually pick the Chiefs just because of that answer. That's a newfound respect. Because everyone's saying Brady. It's easy to say your own son. Or no, that it's not Brady anymore. Everyone's saying Mahomes. And everyone's like dissing Montana and things like that. He gave the right answer. He may one day be the greatest quarterback of all time, but right now you can't say it. Here is Nick Bosa. He not a fan of the Chiefs tackles.
Does anything stand out about Taylor and Smith when you watch them on film? Taylor's, I think, leads the NFL with a ton of penalties. Anything stand out when you watch him?
They hold a lot.
That's classic Nick Bosa. I don't like that before a big game, though. I don't know if I like that. Man, this is the toughest Super Bowl, I think, to ever predict. I usually have a feel the week before the game. I have no feel right now. One day I wake up, I say Kansas City. Next day I wake up, I go with the San Francisco 49ers. I think I'm going to have such an internal fight with myself until I figure out who I'm going to pick from now until Friday of next week. All righty, well, we will talk to you Monday in Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas! As well as some fun on Radio Row Monday through Friday next week, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you listen to us next week and also watch us on the stream. A lot of good content for you in person, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Big thanks to each and every one of you today. Listening, calling, tweeting, Instagram, all that stuff. Follow me at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. Big thanks to Joe Theismann, Taylor Mathis, Stu, Mike as well. We're out. Talk to you Monday in Vegas.